Hello and welcome back to Off Track Podcast with me, Dave Neal. This week, proudly sponsored by Slick Moto Events, the UK's fastest growing premium European track day company. Head to slickmotoevents.co.uk to check out their 2025 schedule at some of Europe's most iconic circuits. Portimao, Mugello, Misano, Red Bull Ring, and the final at Catalonia later in the year. They also offer European flat track events too. My guest this week is a guy that we've been trying to get on the show for well over a year, and finally we got the schedules to match up. Before we do, make sure you like and subscribe because every subscription really does promote the show and helps us bring great guests like this one. That's enough from me. Let's get on with it. It's the former British and World Superbike champion and commentator for TNT's MotoGP coverage and Burnley's finest export. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Neil Hodgson. Enjoy.
Neil Hodgson, finally. Hodgie, mate, welcome to Off Track. So good to see you.
We've been trying for a while, haven't we?
No, we've been doing this for ages.
I agreed to do this, but I thought Jim was coming.
Well, thanks, mate.
I didn't know just you. I'm not joking. When I opened the door, I'm like, this has backfired. I thought we'd have some glamour, some beauty.
Well, that's it. You're that one lady. She's left. Vic, beautiful. Jen's beautiful. It looks like brilliant. That's it. It's just us two, mate.
Hey, I'm lucky. I've done all right, haven't we?
We haven't done bad, kiddo.
Isn't it funny when you know when you're punching? Like, genuinely.
How often do you get told?
Daily. Best is whenever if I put a picture of me and my wife on social media, I just get slated. I do.
I know. It's the same. We did a podcast with Jen. As this goes out, it'll be 3 or 4 weeks ago. And everybody's like, nice to see Jen on the podcast. Isn't Jen lovely? Oh, great to see Jen. This is great. Thanks. Well, you've got us.
Yeah.
You've got the Chuckle Brothers.
Literally.
And even had a healthy breakfast this morning and I'm sat here breathing in because I've got to sit next to this one. And I've got a baggy shirt on, not a nice one that fits.
No, everything's tight, you know that. I've always said, you don't need to go to the gym, just buy a size smaller and it makes you look bigger.
Made a career out of it.
I literally have. If you watch me on TV, my shirts are tight. Not as tight as Sylvan's.
No.
They're criminally tight.
They are criminally tight, bless him. And I haven't spoken to Sylvan yet, because last time we spoke, we were at MotoGP in the paddock.
Yeah.
And we were going to try and do one back-to-back with Sylvan, but because of the news of his little lad,
Son, yeah.
we've had to...
There's a lot going on.
We'll wait on that one, but
absolutely.
We'll still keep the rivalry in there, and we'll get to Sylvan at some point.
Brilliant.
But mate, how are you? Great to see you.
Good, yeah, good. Life is really good. I'm super lucky. I am very, very, very lucky. Got the dream job. Got the most amazing wife. Got beautiful kids. I don't sound smug. I'm just really lucky. I'm surrounded by really good people.
Good things should happen to good people, mate. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but anyway, I've blagged it up to this point somehow.
We'll talk about the commentary side, and we'll talk about MotoGP, which is what a lot of our listeners and viewers know you for. But you had a whole racing career before that. Former British Superbike champion, former World Superbike champion, Grand Prix rider, British 125cc champion, Moto America.
Yeah, I did a lot.
Been around a bit.
Yeah. That's
the phrase you're looking for.
I literally did a lot, didn't I? I was, yeah. It's weird. It's weird because obviously I talk about my career occasionally. I know everyone thinks I talk about being world champion all the time. I said that to my wife the other day. I went, weirdly, people think I brag about being world champion. And do you know what she said? She went, well, you never mention it. I went, no, I know, but I said it's this funny stigma. But anyway, that's another story. But
you earned it.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is it was like, nothing was planned. Your career you just set off. Because I was a motocross rider, schoolboy motocross. Started racing when I was about 10 years old. Got to a half decent level, but I was really small and skinny. Shock. And so I really struggled as I got on the bigger bikes at motocross. And my dad used to race on tarmac, road race. And he always said, oh, you should have a go at road racing. You should have a go at road racing. So when I was 16, I had a go at road racing. And then it all started. But there was never any master plan.
There can't be in our sport, I don't think.
No, because you don't know, do you?
No,
really?
known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns.
Yeah.
And those unknown unknowns, you have no control over whatsoever. So take me back to the 125 days, because that's where it all began.
Yeah.
On tarmac. As I say, the first race, 1990.
1993. My first ever race was at Langbar.
Was it?
Yeah, which is up in like Middlesbrough way.
Yeah.
And I turned up there, and it was a bit of a shock to the system. And then my second race was Snetterton. I did this championship called the Mini Stock Championship, which was really competitive. And I had a really horrible crash in practice. Really, like early on, like my second lap, I got took out going into the first corner. Someone crashed behind me. Anyway, I came back. There's a reason for this story.
It's okay.
I came back.
It's all about you.
And my dad, the bike was wrecked. I'd hurt myself. My dad was like, we'd driven all the way to Snetterton. I couldn't believe how far it seemed. Like Norfolk, from Burnley.
It still does feel that far.
And the weekend was over, and my dad was going mad, and it was just a horrible scene, and I was crying. And James Hayden walked over to see if I was all right. Obviously, I was 16, James was 16, and that's when we met. And James said, I saw what happened. Like, you did nothing wrong. And like, we were just about to go home, and then like, it was almost like he calmed the situation. And then I ended up racing, not doing well. I think I was last or second to last, and then I went to Three Sisters and won my third ever like club race, and then it began. I found road racing really easy because at motocross I was really, really fast on flat tracks. Yeah. As soon as there were big jumps, as soon as it got rough, I never stood up. At motocross you've got to stand up. Yeah. I sat down, and what I'd not realised is all the years of riding on stubble fields on motocross tracks. It was like I'd got this incredible feel from sitting down. So I could feel the rear tyre. I was so good at sliding her by. And if you look at all the training all the pros do now, it's essentially what I'd done as a kid. But I hadn't realised it. Obviously, of course I didn't realise it. Oh. So then when I started road racing, it was well easy. I couldn't believe how easy it was. I just won straight away, pretty much. Club races. And I was straight away. My mum said, I'll never forget it was one of the funniest things. It was after winning at Three Sisters. My mum said, we were driving home, standard in the van, and she looked at me and she went, well, Mark, to me dad, he's achieved more than you in 3 races than you did in 4 years of racing. And she's all right.
He's a race winner.
Like, funny as that though. My dad was a bit pissed off, but I remember sitting there proud as punch, and and that was the beginning of the road racing career.
So within 2 years, you were British champion.
Yeah.
That's a fairly steep.
It happened quick, and then I hate it when old people go, back then it was hard. But one thing I have to add, back then to win the 125 British Championship was harder than it would be, let's say now, the equivalent, because then it was a championship that a lot of people did. Men did it. I were beating guys in the mid-30s that have been racing at British Championships for a lot of years. Now it's more of a junior class. Yeah. And then it's like, of course you're the best junior rider at the time, but then to win the 125 British Championship was bloody tough. Or the 250cc, you've got career 125 riders, career 250 riders. So,
but you look back there, in your 250s, you had Boz.
Yeah.
And Sorf.
Yeah, Mara Brown, and like just incredible riders.
And the same in the 125. I don't know if Robin Appleyard was still in there.
Yeah, Robin Appleyard, C. Patricksons, Rob Holmes.
was another one, yeah.
Prix riders that were fast. So
it was a proper field of doers.
Yeah, but I've had a lot of luck in my career. And what happened? So 1990 was my first year on tarmac. I won loads of club race meetings, crashed my brains out. I was the biggest crasher. And I didn't really understand. We later found out that we got the wrong wheels so what happened was I kept riding off the side of the tyre. Anyway, it sounds like an excuse, but it's true. My dad eventually realised, because obviously we were new to road racing, that sort of stuff. When we realised, it was like, oh yeah, that's what's happened. But then in 91, I ended up having a teammate called Steve Thompson, who was an older guy. He was an engine tuner and a really, really fast racer. And I learned so much off him. And I rode for a team. We had quite a lot of sponsors, but a gentleman called John Davis ran this 125 team. And we sort of got involved with it. My dad was such a wheeler dealer. He always got really good opportunities for me. And this was a great opportunity. So I got a mentor in my second season. So I was 17 years old, but this guy, Steve Thompson, was incredible. And I was just like a sponge. Everything he said, I listened to. And I learned so much. And by the end of the year, I went from being miles slower than him to being the same speed as him. And then in 92, that was my year. Then I won the British Championship. I was able to
The same Steve Thompson that worked with Boz at Flogging Petronas.
Exactly.
I was thinking about I heard that name before.
Incredible engineer, incredible tuner. So I always had fast bikes. And when I moved to Grand Prix racing, he came with me to Grand Prix racing as I don't know what his job was, crew chief, stroke, engine tuner. So yeah, I was lucky to get, and it's all because of my dad. Like I said, my dad was just a machine. He just worked so hard and got me the best opportunities. And my dad himself was an incredible mechanic. Yeah. So I always had really, really good bikes.
He's got a great reputation in the paddock, hasn't he? Even still.
Even still, yeah. I mean, my dad's really eccentric, and I love the way my dad is. As in, my dad's my dad. He's a unique individual. He's as unique as they come, and still is. But every rider will say this. But without my parents, oh my God, because at 16, I didn't even want to go road racing, really. I'd had enough of motocross. Yeah. And my dad talked me into it. And he's like, no, you'll be good. Before I knew it, I was riding the bike and it came easy to me.
But that sort of support, you can't buy that kind of support. And there is a lot of luck involved, and the planets do have to align, and it doesn't align for everyone. But when it does, you have to take the opportunities when they're there.
That's what you've just said is everything. Because I've listened to loads of your podcasts.
Thank you, man.
And they are fantastic. And what I find really interesting is I love listening to everyone's story. Because obviously everyone's got a story. And certain individuals, I'll think, I know their story. And then I'll hear their twist on it. And I think, yeah, but you've probably missed that bit out, or you've missed that bit out. We're all guilty of that. Of course, you're going to look at it with rose-tinted glasses. But what you said is key, right? So I know I had some lucky moments, but I'll tell you what I got some opportunities and I made the most of them. And I'm so proud of that. And that's why I won a world championship. And that's why other riders that were decent didn't, because in stressful pressure situations, I made the most of it. Of course, I had some shit races. I had some terrible seasons where it didn't go according to plan, but I regrouped. I had good people around me, and I made the most of it.
As fans, we tend to, and I am a fan, and you talk about lucky. How lucky do you get to sit in and do this? It's ridiculous. But as we look back, you remember the good bits. You don't remember the difficult times when you're in the factory Ducati team in World Superbike, or you ride in the WCM in GPs, and the great opportunities that we'll come on to those shortly, that might have been at the wrong time, but they're all part and parcel of what's made you who you are.
Yeah, and you learn. And at the time when you're in the deepest low, you're hating it, you're doubting yourself, which is always the worst for any professional athlete. If you're doubting yourself, it's like, shit, you've got to believe in yourself. So even in those moments, there are positives, and you learn from it. Not in that instant, it's looking back, it's reflecting. And again, I keep repeating, it's having the right people around you that believe in you, and they keep reminding you that you are good enough. And that builds, and then you get a result, and then you start thinking, no, maybe I am, and then the confidence grows. You see it in so many riders, don't you? Seeing Kyle ride this season, for example, a rider who I've always respected, admired, and thought was fast, thought it just lacks that. And he lacked that last bit of belief in himself.
And it's only that much.
And it's nothing, is it?
But it's the biggest part.
It's the biggest part. It's the difference between, are you champion or not? And guess what? He was champion. Bloody hell, that was a race. That was goosebumps.
The great thing is you're such a great fan of the sport as well, and you do keep on with BSB and Worlds whenever you can.
I love BSB. I never go to BSB because I'm always away, but when on a weekend off, my wife, and it doesn't annoy her because she'll watch other stuff. I go upstairs and BSB's on.
It's the right thing. I've got a chat show with him Friday and Saturday this week, so by the time this goes out, we'll have done the chat show with him, and I'm so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
The youngest ever 125 cc, but similar career path.
It is. Yeah.
Thrust into it.
I remember watching him super fast straight away.
Yeah.
Around about 2009, was it, on Moto3 in England.
Yeah.
I remember watching him going, Jesus Christ. 2010, unbelievable corner speed. Then he got opportunities too soon. He wasn't quite ready, wasn't mature enough. Didn't really make the most of it.
No.
Then he's ricocheted back, and now he's on his way back forward, isn't he?
It's exactly. Tommy's been a massive part, but you talk about having good people behind you in the same way that Roger Burnett's helped form your career and been a massive part of it alongside your mum and dad.
Yeah.
The difference for Kyle, for me, has been Tommy Hill.
Yeah.
And he's made a massive difference. That goes back to what you said about having the right people
around you.
It's a massively important.
When you come back to your motorhome and you're like, I fucked up. I hate myself.
Because you're only human.
And then you're like, what's going on? And then it's all negative thoughts. And then you need a Tommy Hill. I had a Roger Burnett.
Yeah.
My parents, friends, bigging you up, telling you all the positives. There's so much you don't see in racing.
You're not allowed to say it these days, but back in the mid 90s and things like that. Shut up, you girl. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, all the old school way.
The old school way. Tell me about Roger Burnett, because that timeline wise, that brings us into about that time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
British Championship. Roger suddenly goes, I like the kid. I like what he's about. I like the family.
It's so funny. It's so funny because bloody hell, Roger is a lifelong friend. I'm going this weekend to Laceby Manor.
Oh, fabulous.
I'm taking, obviously, my wife and my daughter, Holly. She's going with her boyfriend. Obviously, Roger won charges. Like, Roger is the most generous man I've ever met. The thing about Roger, which I so respect, obviously he had a great motorcycle racing career, winner of a TT and all the stuff he achieved in racing, but it's what he's done since.
Yeah.
It's so impressive. The businesses that he runs, his PR company, RBP, but then obviously buying Laceby Manor, what he's done there, obviously you've been loads of times. It's an incredible
place.
Complex.
Love it.
Golf course, spa, but it's high end, isn't it? It's
Everything is the best of everything.
the best of everything, done immaculately, perfectly. So
As Rogers.
So what happened? He told this story slightly wrong because I listened to Roger. What happened was at the end of 91, so my second year, my level went like that. And my dad, again, credit to him, it's maybe not what people think about my dad, but my dad went, well, I can't really take you any further. And my dad realized that. He went, we need help, we need someone. And at the time...
So important.
Yeah, it's so important. So my dad and with a few people helping us. And at the time, Roger was racing, but I think he'd announced he was retiring at the end of 91.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine called Mark Webster, he used to sponsor me. Do you remember Mark Webster? He ran...
Name rings a bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mark spoke to Roger, and then Roger came over and we sort of chatted. I never said anything because I was super nervous. And then I remember, so that was the end of 91. Beginning of 92, I was trying to get an entry for the British Championship, and something had gone wrong. We were either a little bit late and they weren't going to give me an entry, and it was messy. I can't remember exactly. I was young. I was at home. I remember my dad swearing on the phone. And then my dad decided to call Roger Burnett. So he calls Roger, and Roger said, if you can be bothered to drive to Lincoln, come over and we'll have a chat. So we drove over 2.5 hours or whatever it was. And I remember walking in, and again, I never said a word. My dad talked for like 3 hours. I was just sat there, sweaty palms, looking at Roger, thinking, wow, Roger Burnett. Anyway, that was the beginning of our relationship. And then he sorted out the entry for British Championships, the mess. And then the championship started, and I was performing, and I got a manager, and he was getting me opportunities, and it was brilliant.
But it's not just the racing side, is it? It's the commercial side of it as well, and being commercially aware of what you're doing in this industry. Because I have, as the podcast show, I have no commercial awareness whatsoever. It's not my thing. I'm 20 years manufacturing before I sit down and do this. But to have that guidance early, to be aware of it, even just making you aware of opportunities, is vital. And you see it, and that's how how riders today make it forward. Some will be career BSB riders. That's fine. It's not a problem. And it was different then in how you progress, because now it's so difficult to progress into world level racing because of how it's all set up. Well, again, something we can talk about later. But to have that support so early for me was vital. But what you said about your dad, you see it so many times. Dad struggles to let go. I've seen it firsthand. And it's understandable because they worked with their kids since they were 6 years old. Yeah. And it's like, oh, he's my boy. I don't want, But for your dad to have that presence of mind to go, that's me.
Yeah.
I can't take you any further. We need someone else to, we have to look at other opportunities. That's vital in your career.
Yeah, and that was everything, because then in 92, I won the British Championship. It was like a shock. At the time, I was one of the youngest. I don't know if it was the youngest, even though I was 18.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you couldn't start till you were 16. Now, obviously, I know you get British champions of whatever age.
I think Kyle was 15. Was he 14 or 15 when he won it?
But I'd pretty much done it as young as you possibly could. But then, genuinely, I was happy to think, right, next year, I'll have a Rider 250 in Britain, or I'll defend it, and it'd be brilliant. I'll win some races.
Because that's what you did.
And that's what I thought, that'd be great. And it's like, Roger and my dad are like, no, we're going Grand Prix racing. And we got let down we got like the dream bullshit sponsor. Roger mentioned it in the podcast.
Did.
And we got really messed about by this guy and let down in the 11th hour. And between Roger and my dad and people like Colin Appleyard was an incredible sponsor, and lots of people, Med backed me a lot, MBM Racing, loads of people like put a lot of people put money into me in the early days, and they're the most important, because it's all right when you're winning World Championship racing and people want to be your personal sponsor. It's when you're a nobody and people are helping you. So,
how much did the leathers help?
What, the Kevlar? Oh my God, worst decision ever. No,
I'll find a photo of that and ping it.
Oh my God, it's just so, on a weekly basis, someone will put something on X.
Pink wheels.
Oh yeah. No, but that was all Roger.
People could see you.
That was Roger. Roger Burnett was like, you need to stand out. You need to stand out. Marketing. And it was funny because
Absolutely right.
when I started Grand Prix racing, I was definitely not battling at the front. So, but you could always see me. Like, Jesus Christ, could there be any more colours on that bike?
But it's all about that, isn't it? It is the marketing, what you've got. Sorry, go on.
No, but where I was unlucky was, so I started Grand Prix racing in 1993. And like I said, I'd only started racing in 1990. 1993, I'm on a 125, doing Grand Prix racing. But all of a sudden I grow. From being this skinny little rat, I grew like a couple of inch and put on weight, just naturally. And then I really struggled. So that's why I ended up wearing a bloody Kevlar seat, which I've got to say was fantastic, super light, super comfortable, until you crash. And guess what? It was utter shite. Like literally the first crash, I crashed on the last lap, on the last corner of the Australian Grand Prix, first Grand Prix of the year, and I was battling for about 12th. And I was battling with Aoki, who went on to win 2 125 World Championships. Great guy, we were friends. Harachika, it's Harachika, yeah, there were three brothers, weren't they? And I dived on this, up the inside of him, high-sided, horrible crash, hit the rolled and did all the usual, and stood up. And I could just see my skin bleeding. And I thought, what the fuck have I been wearing? Because I've been told, this is stronger than leather. You'll be absolutely fine. At that point, I had 1 layer of Kevlar. My next Kevlar suits came with 3 layers of Kevlar. And I was all right after that, but the first crash hurt, I'll tell you.
All I've got in my head at the moment is Scott Redding.
Yeah, he's got
because he's got the
if you think
modern suit. It's a bit different now.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was 1993. I think in 2024, I'd like to think he's going to be safe.
Which, between you and me, is only 20 years ago.
No, I know, that's what I know. But it feels even less than that, doesn't it?
I agree completely.
Because we're the same age, aren't we?
Just about, yeah. I think you're, I don't know, 6 months younger than me, something like that. But I was 52 in January. But yeah, 1992. So yeah, you only started racing 20 years ago. That's for my benefit, not Neil's. But with the 125s, the World Championship on the standard bike, then you got HRC help the following year, didn't you? Which, with the growth and everything else, the difference in spec of the bikes was necessary.
Yeah, but it didn't help. We were so unlucky. You got factory A kits and B kits, and we got I can't remember what it cost, thousands, tens of thousands. And we got this B kit, and it was supposed to be really good the year before. It had been fantastic, and it just didn't help at all. And back then, it was tough. It was really tough because I was heavy, had a slow bike, and people like Kazuto Sakata was incredible, or Dirt Rowdies, the German, Dirt Rowdies must have weighed, and I'm not exaggerating, I'm going to say he weighed 7.5 stone, wet through. And I would be on the straight, and he would come past so fast, I couldn't By the time I weave to get in his slipstream, he's gone. And the bikes always smelled strange, and because there was all sorts of funny fuel in that back in those days, and like you make your eyes sting. And he used to always think, oh, I wish I'd got that fuel in my bike. As we were just like, but then in braking zones we were similar, and in corner speeds we were similar. So I genuinely always had the belief they're no better. At that point, I wasn't cocky, but I thought I never saw anyone on track on a 125 that I thought I can't do that. So I just couldn't do anything on the straight, and lots of the times I'd be 2.7 seconds off the pace. But I knew, well, 2 seconds of that's just on the straights. I know it is on all the straights put them together. So,
but also when you speak to Jamie Robinson and you speak to Norge and Chaz,
they had the same thing, didn't they?
It was the same principle, but there was A and B bikes. There was A and B chassis. There was A and B engines. There was A, B, and C tires.
Yeah.
And if you were on a C tyre versus an A tyre, it didn't matter what bike you're on, because you weren't going to do it.
Well, imagine this. For us to be able to afford to do it, we had to use Yokohama tyres because we did a deal with them.
Wow.
So we got free tyres.
Yeah.
So, no offence to Yokohama tyres, but guess what? They weren't as good as the Dunlops. Of course they weren't. But I didn't even know that because I didn't know enough about racing. But that's like, we've got free tyres. I'm like, be sold. But they were rubbish, really. But
it got you out there, though, didn't it?
All that, learning the tracks, learning the travelling. God, that was a shock. First time I flew to Australia, I couldn't believe, obviously, not just how far it was. Jet lag, just absolutely, obviously.
So your first overseas trip was straight to Phillip Island?
It was straight to Eastern Creek.
So Eastern Creek at the time, wasn't it? Yeah. Phillip Island came later.
Yeah. But
Eastern Creek.
I think a lot of people, I'm going to dispel a rumor. I think a lot of people thought I was this spoiled, rich kid. I've come from a normal working class family. Anything we ever had, we put into racing. I never went on any holidays. The first time I went abroad, I was 16. I went with my best mate, Matthew, from school, and his mum and dad, and went to Lorette de Mar. And I ran into the sea, and I couldn't believe that it was salty and how cold it was, because we'd never done anything like that. We used to go, for holidays, we went to Morecambe Bay, but because we'd no money, because anything we did do, we went racing. So for me to go to Australia, that was it was unreal. I couldn't, being Malaysia with the heat, I'd done nothing like it, because I'd never been abroad.
I don't know how that rumour comes about.
No, and I think a lot of people thought, but I think Roger Burnett's slightly to blame, because Roger sort of schooled me on the PR side of things, so I always pretended to be somebody I wasn't. And I'm not criticising Roger, he was only wanting the best for me.
Absolutely.
Imagine at one point in my life, you'll appreciate this more than anyone, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I was sat in an old woman's house in Briarfield having elocution lessons. And I was reading this poem, and she's saying, no, you don't say, and she's like, getting me to change my accent.
Diction and things like that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do it. And I'm slightly dyslexic anyway, so I'm half struggling to read this thing. I'm putting on a different accent. Anyway, I'll never forget, I think my dad paid. We paid for 5 sessions. I did one, and I got out, and I am never, ever going back there again. That's the most humiliating thing I've ever done. But I ended up with this sort of slight reputation, like I don't know if I'm getting confused, but like I was slightly posh. But you've got
to be true to who you are.
And you know where I'm from.
Absolutely. Well, Jen was on, the regular viewers and listeners know with Jen last week, that she's like, do I change my, no. Prime example, when he first went up into the comms box, he tried to tone down his Yorkshire accent.
Yeah.
And people were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're from Huddersfield.
Exactly.
Talk like you're from Huddersfield.
Yeah, my accent's got stronger. I've not lived in Burnley since I was 23, but I've still got a strong sort of, obviously, Lancashire accent.
You'll never lose it.
No.
You'll never lose it. And when you sit down with people like me, it comes out. And when you go back in, when you're back in the village.
Yeah, if I'm back in
Barrowford,
Barrowford,
drops in.
like that, yeah.
When you get opportunities like you did with WCM, well, in fact, who you did?
Yeah, WCM.
With Harris. No, but you had 2 rides on Harris.
That's right, in '94.
I'm done.
Yeah, well done. So, this is your job, Dave.
No, you're right. It's true. Yeah, good point. I've done my homework. Give something special. I've done my job. Yeah, thanks, mate. All right. Where's those questions that's thrown under your bus? There they are. We've got a couple. No, I am. going from what you did to get those 2 rides on the Harris bikes at the time, which they weren't the quickest because, again, disparity in the championship. What was it like cocking leg over a 500cc 2-stroke for the first time?
Well, to explain it like this, so imagine, all my career, I'd race 125s. So we're now in my second year of Grand Prix racing, and I'm doing 125 Grand Prix. We're 3/4 of the way through the season, and Kevin Schwantzer got injured. So Sean Emmett got the opportunity to ride the factory Suzuki. That meant that Sean Emmett's Harris, shell-backed Harris 500 was free. I was too big, I've been struggling, but again, this is where good people around me. I have no idea this was going on. Roger Burnett, my dad, was talking to people. Before you know it, it's like, hey, for the Argentinian Grand Prix, we've got your ride on the 500. I'm like, great. Oh yeah, because remember, I've got loads of experience on big bikes.
Yeah.
Do you know the biggest bike? All I'd ever ridden, I did one race at the end of 92 on a 250cc bike. Loved it and scared myself. Thought that was really fast. So now, I've just raced in America. I've got a weekend off, and the next race is the Argentinian Grand Prix. So I go home, knowing full well that I'm going to get on a flight and have to go down pit lane on a fucking 500cc bike, 2-stroke. I've never ridden before. I've no idea what I'm doing. And Roger's like, "You'll be all right, buddy. You'll be all right." Yeah.
It's just a big 125.
What could possibly go wrong? It's not like everything. It's not like I'm riding against all the greats. It's not like doing and people like... So anyway, I set off down pit lane. Everyone's going, "Remember the brakes, carbon brakes." Yeah. Everyone told me. Literally, I set off down. First corner's a hairpin. I'm like, no brakes, no fucking brakes. Like, honestly, and then
then all of a sudden you're feeling yourself.
Oh my God, if you could watch video footage of me riding around that first session, I sat in the middle of the bike, the stiffest man you've ever seen. I always had a very awkward riding style, stiff, weird riding style, but this was, anyway, I was out of all I did was, I was just out of the seat all the time, because every time I breathed on the throttle, it went, ready? I'm like, oh God, and they're like, it's passing me. Anyway, what you cannot believe happened, I just went, obviously, through the sessions, I just stayed out, and come the race, I didn't get lapped. Now that's pretty impressive, I think. I know
That's a small win.
It's a weird
small
win. It's a 40-minute race.
Yeah.
I've never ridden a 500. I didn't finish last, and I didn't get lapped. So, and then I had another ride on it, and then we went into winter. And then, again, good people around me. I got the chance to ride the WCM, which was the rock version, like, let's say, privateer version. And it was better. The team was fantastic and good people around me. I had Mike Webb as my crew chief. He was the main man in MotoGP when it comes to the, obviously, the technical side of things. So Peter Clifford was the team manager, really good people. And we just calmly went through the season, and I ended up being top privateer, finished 11th in the world. And exactly a year back in Argentina, I qualified on the front row. So imagine I'd rode a big bike for exactly 1 year, and I went from being, well, I wasn't last in the race, but trying not to get lapped, to, I even remember the qualifying lap. Like, literally, Doohan came past me, and it was at the end of qualifying, and I sat on his back wheel, and we crossed the finish line after a lap that I'd literally held my breath for a lap. Certain things you remember in your career, lots you forget. But I remember crossing the finish line and thinking, well, he's only pulled, like, he'd probably pulled like 0.4 on me or something. And I looked at my lap time, and I'm like, what the hell? Next thing I know, I'm in a press conference, I've qualified on the front row, and I didn't even know I didn't know what to say. I was so nervous. So yeah, it was an incredible year. That was 1995, so my 5th year of racing. I was a 500cc Grand Prix rider and finished top privateer, 11th in the world.
On the front row and chasing Mick.
And I had some great races, had some good battles with proper names, raced with Caparossi and beat him, and Scott Russell at the time. And genuinely, Dave, I mean this, I hadn't a clue what I was doing. I had not got a clue. it was all winging it. There were no, honestly, I mean that. When I say I had good people around me, but I didn't know what I was doing.
I get it. Yeah.
And that, I've obviously, you've always been, you always analyze your own career. And do you know what? That's what sort of screwed me over, because at the end of that year, I wasn't able to get a factory ride in 500s. And a lot of that was down to sponsorship, and it was all cigarette money, and having a UK ride, it wasn't beneficial. And Roger worked hard, but he worked so hard that he then ended up getting me the factory World Superbike ride. So then I'm then thrown in the deep end, massive spotlight on me. I'd never ridden a Ducati, a four-stroke style. Obviously, I know the twins. I had no idea. I had no rider coaches. So I learnt the hard way. And then you've got real strong teammates. I had John Kaczynski the first year. The second year I had Foggy. You talk about cast a big shadow. And if you ever want to doubt yourself, have two teammates like that.
Absolutely.
Because they'll get in your head and you'll doubt yourself. Because they were great riders obviously, in their own right, incredible riders. And then you're on equal machinery and you don't know what you're doing.
Too much too soon?
Oh, way too much too soon. 100%. Obviously, I get asked this, do you regret anything in racing? No, not at all.
That's a different question.
Yeah, and I don't. But when you look at that, you think, I wish I'd had a proper rider coach.
Yeah.
Because you won't remember, but back in those days, I always qualified well. And it was only till probably, let's say 6 years later, I really understood how to ride a proper big bike, because I was still doing 1-2-5 lines. So I could qualify well when I had grip.
Yeah.
But as soon as the grip went off, I had too much lean angle, no grip. I didn't used to get it stopped, stand it up. There were none of that. No one ever explained it.
When you're in a factory team, they assume you already know that.
Of course they do.
Cool. Because you're in a factory
young
team.
talent, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're just seeing young talent. They think, we'll sign him, he's going to be great.
But you look at the time, and World Superbikes, you were one of the youngest riders in the field, because you had Aaron Slight, John Kaczynski, Carl Fogarty.
It was stacked.
They were blokes at that point.
Yeah.
And you was in your early 20s.
Yeah. Yeah, they were where I was 6 years later when I went back in.
Yes.
I was winning.
Exactly that. That was the role reversal, wasn't it?
It's so funny because I'll never forget. I remember racing against Slight, for example. I never liked Aaron. We never got on. He was always disrespectful, rude to me. That was him. Fair enough. There's always like in racing. Some riders you get on really well with, some people you don't at all. And what I loved about Aaron was I got my chance second time round to swipe him, because he used to swipe me on track. He'd be a bit dirty, and I was not fully in control of the bike in those early days. But then when I came back round and I was fully in control, it was like, hey, remember me? I know what I'm doing now. In racing, good.
I can do this.
In racing, good. As you just slide it into someone like, this is great, big wheelie, so.
When we spoke to Pop before Christmas, he explained that there was a small incident when Aaron was fighting for the World Championship, and he came across you. That's
right. Yeah.
Let us get on with it, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, fucking no chance.
Yeah.
I'm a racer. What do you want me to do?
But imagine this then. So this is the end of '98. So I'd had 2 years on Ducati, factory Ducati, and they weren't.
Oh, that was on the Kawasaki, wasn't it?
This was
on the Fritz Kawasaki. Yeah.
And then '98, I rode for the factory Kawasaki team, where the bike wasn't great, but that's another story. The 2 Ducati years, the bike was really good. I wasn't good, or good enough. I weren't bad.
No, it wasn't a shit seat, but it was
podium finishers.
Yeah, exactly.
I was the 5th place champion of the world. I loved the 5th.
You were a regular top 6 finisher, so
it's the 5th to be had. I could be podium for most of the race, and then I think, hang on, there's a 5th. There's a chance of there's a 5th here.
5th to be had.
And I can lose 2 places with 2 laps to go. And it'd be like, wheelie over the line, another solid 6th. I did so many.
Neil, 5th place.
Oh my God, I hated it. So then I rode for Kawasaki the following year. Last round, we're at Sugo, and there were 3 riders who could win the championship: Foggy, Corsa, and Aaron Slight. And Slight, I've just said, it was funny, we never got on. And that was all right. Like I said, it was not a big deal. We're like, you think I'm a dick, I think you're a dick. Let's agree not to be mates.
It's allowed.
It's all right. And I'm sat at the grid, and he qualified bad. I was on my last race with Kawasaki. I was sort of on my way out. I was still looking for opportunities. I was doing the best for myself, obviously. And he went, I couldn't believe it was him. Like, hello. And he come up to me and went, hey, if I show you my front wheel, will you let us through? And I went, you are? He went, if I show you my front wheel, will you let us through? Obviously, I'm fighting for the title. I went, yeah, right. Like, and that was that. So then, in the race, I was in front of him, and he kept showing me his front wheel, and I didn't let him through. I had rubber all over my legs. Anyway, eventually he passed me in the race, and then made a mistake, and I got back in front, and I don't know where I finished. I know where I finished. It's fifth. Over the line, another solid fifth. I bet if we look back, I'll finish if we look back and see if I finished fifth. I didn't finish fifth. This was
First thing I'm going to do when I go home.
He was sixth. And I went over the line. Oh, relatively happy. It was another solid, consistent pay. Went round turn 1, went round in between turn 1 and 2, and he just came alongside me and he just went. And that's never happened, never. Before or since. Like, I just about stayed on the bike, and then we then started shouting at each other, and then we put our bikes down, and we got our handbags out, and it was handbags at dawn. It was the most embarrassing, humiliating. Not you. No. Well, like, not putting hitting yet.
Just shove it, push it,
We just put our bikes up and pretend this never happened. I'm sure this hasn't been caught on TV. Oh shit, it has. So embarrassing.
This is going to be around forever.
Yeah. So yeah, that was me and Aaron. It happened actually the year later with me and Sean Emmett at Donington.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, in the gravel trap. He took me out, and it was so embarrassing.
It's just what do you do when you've got a helmet and carbon gloves on and things like that?
You lose it for a second.
The worst adrenaline now, isn't it?
Yeah, the Sean Emmett one was, he 100% took me out. And then he came up to me and said, like, what the fuck? And you're like, what the fuck? I'll tell you what the fuck. Just ruined both of our races, you absolute idiot. And then, yeah, embarrassing.
When the time came, we're doing well here, we're keeping this on track beautifully.
Yeah.
When the time came to step into BSB with Colin and Daryl and GSE, what were your thoughts at that point? Because you'd been all around the world for the last 7 years, 6-7 years, and it's back to the UK as a world level rider with a massive point to prove.
Yeah, and I was young.
And still young.
I was
Absolutely.
25, I think, that year.
Yeah.
25, yeah.
That was your number.
Yeah, I was working out. Was I 25?
1999.
Yeah,
you would be.
Yeah.
So that you got Troy Bayliss as your teammate.
Yeah, he was rubbish.
Yeah, he never amounted to much, did he?
No.
With one of the strongest fields in BSB at that time.
Yeah.
And then in you come to a team, Colin Wright as a team manager. What was your thought process going into that, and how did you deal with it?
My thought process was I was done. I was so over racing. So what happened was, my career went like that. Way, I was a superstar. A lad from Burnley, left school, I was an apprentice builder. I'd never been abroad. And all of a sudden, I'm a Grand Prix rider, everything's great. And it was until I got my dream opportunity. I'm a factory Ducati rider. I'm getting paid a load of money. This is great. What no one ever tells you, and you'll have heard this in other sports, is obviously one of them is be careful what you wish for. The other one, and we talked about this, my mum and dad, a lot. I'm so close to my mum and dad, as you know.
Absolutely.
And it was the day you sign that contract, your hobby is gone. It is over. This is now just a job, full-time job. And the fun goes. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure if I'd signed the contract and I was winning straight away and they continued to win, that'd have been great. But I wasn't terrible, I wasn't great, and the fun went completely. And then, like I said, you doubt yourself. And then the press got onto me, motorcycle news were terrible. I was like the flop and all that sorts of stuff. And it was a bit like that back then. The headlines, I don't even know if they've improved much now. I don't know. I have nothing against motorcycle news, by the way, but it's just how it was. It's just the reality of
reporters and journalists.
Yeah, looking for a headline. And I wasn't intelligent enough to play the media well. So I'd come up with stupid statements, shock, that would bite me on the arse and all that sort of stuff. And they'd go, do you think you can beat Fogarty? Yeah, of course I can beat Fogarty. Hodgson, I can beat Fogarty. Oh God, why did I say that? Why? Because Cole was in his prime, and then all that sort of stuff. So it all then comes to an end, really. At the end of '98, I can't secure a World Superbike ride, and I'd stopped enjoying racing. massively. I looked at all my mates. I'd go back home. I'd be out in Barrowford, out in Burnley. Look at my mates. Do you know what? They all seem really happy. They were loving life. Girlfriends, out down in Burnley, Panama Joe's, living the dream.
Smacks.
Yeah, living the dream.
Yeah.
I was this weird training, dieting, stress head. He was depressed. You can say it all now. You can openly, and you can understand it now.
But we understand it now. There's so much more.
No
tools.
Yeah.
To
No one
understand
talked
it.
about any of it. I didn't even know. I genuinely didn't know. All I knew is I was really sad and I was not enjoying it at all. And I remember thinking, I've made a few quid. I would do anything just to be like my mates. I just want to go out on the piss. I know it sounds almost embarrassing saying it like this.
No, but that can end up becoming a life crossroads. We've seen it with racers before. It's like, do you know what? I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want that.
That's what, literally, I was so much like that. And again, my mum and dad, Roger Burnett, were like, listen, why don't you, let's try and get a good BSB ride. Because I talked openly to them.
Yeah.
Let's give it one more go. Let's see if we can get some enjoyment, because they could see I wasn't enjoying it at all. Let's see if we can get some enjoyment out of it, out of racing again. And that's what happened. And again, this is the luck bit. The luck bit was we signed for the right team. GSE Racing, owned by Darrell Healy, was unbelievable. And at the time, I was this fragile, confused, cocky individual. And I needed the best team manager in the world, and I got it. Like, that's the look. I got Colin Wright in his prime, and he molded me, and it was, this is the shock, it was a nightmare, because we clashed and clashed and clashed, and we clashed all that first year in '99. I had the speed. I was every bit as fast as Bayliss. Bayliss won the championship, but I was, imagine, first year back on a Superbike racing the English tracks, all the BSB tracks. I had arm pump really bad, so I had surgery at the end of that year because I didn't even know the tracks well. I'd rode 125s around them. Anyway, different lines. But I'd come in a session, I need a new tyre. Colin Wright would go, get fucking back out on that track. You need to understand what that bike feels like. Colin, the tyre's gone completely. Close throttle, it's sliding everyone. Get back out on that track. He'd be like that to mechanics. No. Put them tyres back on the warmers.
Brilliant.
And I'd be like, no one's ever said that to me. Because the team's always accommodated what I wanted.
Especially being on factory teams.
But that was a mistake of, good teams know how a session should be orchestrated, structured. Yeah. So at the end of the session, I'd be like, what are you doing that tyre? And it's like meeting. We had so many meetings. 4 hours. He bollocked me. He explained things. I thought it was completely wrong so many times. Until I used to think, I'm going to prove him so wrong. And then I'd just find that extra gear. And he got it out of me. And it took me a year to think, my God, he's right. He's actually right. Like, if we had, let's say, 50 arguments, he was right probably 49 times. There might have been the odd 1 to 2 times I'd probably got a point. And it just worked so perfect. And he rebuilt me. He got in my head. I wanted to impress him like you wanted to impress your school sports teacher. My sports teacher, Mr. Duckworth, because I struggled at school, but I was good at sport, and I wanted Mr. Duckworth to think I was the man. Well, I wanted Colin Wright to think I was the man. And when I performed, he made me feel like God. And that was the start of that relationship. And he was a piece of the jigsaw that I needed.
From that 99 season, it kind of helped you bed in, didn't it? You had a fast teammate.
Yeah.
You were back amongst your mates as well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about James Hayden a little bit later on, because he spoke so highly of you.
Yeah.
Almost a year ago today. In fact, it's exactly a year ago today that I sat down with James.
Love James.
A great guy. Great guy. You can share some stories that you can share and leave the ones that you can't.
Any James stories, I can't.
He hasn't changed, has he, in any way, shape or form? The great thing now is, and I can feel it with our listeners and our viewers, 2000.
Yeah.
The most invested season up until I worked in the paddock that I've ever had in BSB. Because it made you and it made Chris.
Yeah.
Tell me about that season.
Wow, what a year. So I'm so lucky that it was the perfect storm. It was Chris Walker, who was the fans' favourite, incredible rider, so spectacular to watch. All action. Chris is all action. Never seen a bike move around under a rider so much. And the rider love it and be in control of it. And his skill level was immense. Chris could ride the shit out of anything, couldn't he? And still can.
Yeah, he's still got that attitude. Won't come on the podcast though.
So will he not? No. I'm seeing him soon.
You're with him at the MCN bike show, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah, racing against him. I'm already looking forward to it and dreading it.
What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
In the nicest possible way, look after your shoulder.
Oh my God, I'm already slightly nervous. But so Chris was in his prime as well. Almost won the British Championship on so many occasions, had some bad luck and made a few mistakes, but he was ready, wasn't he? Great team, Crescent, great bike. The Suzuki was fantastic at the time. And I was in my second year on the Ducati. I knew the circuits, and I had my own pump surgery. I believed, I thought, this is my year, definitely. And he believed it 100%. And we'd clashed the year before. We rode completely different. He was much more aggressive on track than me. And there'd been quite a few occasions where we'd put on proper late moves, Chris style. And I'd always gone, every time, and gone, fuck. And I don't know if it was a Colin Wright thing. It's like, don't let him bully you on the track. You can't do that. It's almost like Davide Tordozzi said it to Pecco, didn't he? Did you see that in near the end of the season, saying you can't always be the gentleman on track? It's almost the same sort of chat going. And I genuinely thought, fuck him. So the next time we dived up the inside, I didn't move, and we hit each other hard, and we both went like that. And then I'd let you call it letting the brake off. You're all both on the brakes, I'm almost there. I talk about in commentary, just let the brake off. It's all right. And all of a sudden, you're into the side of him. And we started doing that. He did it more to me than him. I'm having that out there. He definitely did it more to me. But there were times I did it to him. There were loads of times what you've not seen on camera in practice sessions where he did it on me, or on an in-lap he'd pass me close. And we didn't get on. We hated each other. And I love that, because that was a proper rivalry. We weren't friends at all. We smiled through gritted teeth. It was a proper rivalry. And he had a massive fan base. So I used to get so much stick at the track, but I loved it. I genuinely loved it. Of course, did I want to be the popular one? Of course I did. No point in lying. Did I want to see my T-shirts in the grandstand? Of course I did. But I loved it when his fans give me a hard time. Loved it. Because I used to be like, oh yeah, well, wait till the next race or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and yeah, we just attacked each other. And it weren't, funnily, if you watch the whole championship back, it was a really competitive year. James Hayden was super strong.
He was.
On the Red Bull Ducati.
On the Revo bike. Yeah. JR.
Yeah, exactly. John led the championship. John Reynolds, who's talk about the silent assassin, just another man, so aggressive. And obviously he takes his helmet off. He's just the calmest, nice gentleman, but an animal. Sean Evans was quick at the time. I can't remember if Steve Hislop was on. I can't remember if Steve was on the yam. I can't remember. There was some. I think he was.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was.
So, but it ended up coming down to just me and Chris. And then I made a really bad mistake. I crashed in the penultimate round at Brands Hatch in the wet. And I thought I'd thrown the championship away. And then we went down to the last round. And I thought, all I can do, I love Donington anyway, win both races and see what happens. And I won the first race. And I felt comfortable that weekend. And then, obviously, Chris's bike blew up with, 4 laps to go. I mean, you can't make it up. And then, obviously, what happened after that, Chris, the footage of Chris I've got to say, at the time, it didn't bother me. I loved it all. I'm not going to lie.
No?
I'm not going to lie on the podcast. I will tell you, I loved it. I loved that you were crying because we hated each other, Obviously, we are very good friends now because what happens after, what the reality is of that relationship is you've got so much respect for each other. That's the truth.
You have to have that.
Yeah, and what's happened since is we're both well aware that we were so good for each other. He brought the best out in me, and I brought the best out in him, and our careers went forward because of it. And it's super cheesy to say we both deserve the championship. Do you know what? Chris deserved the championship. We didn't both deserve it, because coming down to a mechanical issue with 3 or 4 laps to go, that's bullshit. But I don't make the rules, as in I won the championship, I've got that title, but Chris deserved it, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a nice bloke, it's just true. He didn't make a mistake, did he?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He was out of his hands, wasn't it?
Totally out of his hands.
Tell me about the Alton Park weekend, because that one, I think, summarised the season completely. Last to first.
Yeah.
And then Lodge Corner.
Yeah. Yeah, last to first. I think there were different weekends. I might be wrong. No,
were they?
Yeah, we went there twice. I think there were different weekends. I should know.
No, I should as well. I thought it was the same weekend, but it might not be.
No, I think there were different weekends. But like I say,
I've got it in my head it was the same week. There's more chance of me being wrong than you.
The last to first, I get asked
You were there.
I get asked, you were right. You should know this, dear. Oh. The worst is when someone introduces you to somebody and you go, oh, nice to meet you. And then they go, yeah, we met before. I always say, oh, bang my head a few times. That's always embarrassing, isn't it? Yeah, you should know.
Anyway, those 2 races.
Last to first, get asked about that a lot. So I stole the bike on the line just before to start the warm-up lap. James Hayden had done it at the round before, and it delayed the start, and he didn't get penalised for it. So weirdly, at the start of that weekend, there was a memo went out to say, if anyone stole the bike, you've got to go to the back of the grid. So as soon as I stole it, I knew that I had to go to the back of the grid. I was really strong that weekend, and I knew I was really confident. Anyway, so I went to the back of the grid for the start, and I genuinely sat on the start line. I'm always been a very nervous rider. I'm super stressed beforehand, and I'm really nervous before the start of the race. When the race starts, I'm not, but yeah. I'm a real. And I sat on the line, and I was so calm, and I sat back with riders I didn't even know. My God, it's a long way back here. And I just thought, I genuinely mean this. I remember the thought, I just thought, they're so going to get it. Like that calm. And I just set off like an absolute madman. If you see footage, you can only see me in the background. There were 2 occasions. One of them, I didn't even know the name of the corner. You know the bank corner? Is that Shell Oils?
Yeah.
Then you go for that kink and into that chicane.
To Britain's.
I dived into there. Talk about the road. It was like there was just a roadblock of bikes, and I was totally out of control. And all of a sudden, this small gap appeared. They're the lucky parts of racing.
All right, Moses.
You just parted the way, and like literally, but it was like that. She was like, oh, I'm down. Like I've lost it. Anyway, there's a gap appeared, and I just slotted in. And I caught and passed everyone, pulled away. And it was like I was riding at 10%. It was so easy. And I've said this to so many people. I've no idea what happened. I can't explain why. All I know is Valentino Rossi had a career of that. If I could have done that every time, I'd have been his level. And it was like...
That's the difference.
It was almost like the stress of this situation... All my senses became hypersensitive, so I could feel exactly where the limit was, and I could ride to the limit every corner, every lap, easy, no problem. And that's what Rossi was able to do through his prime. If you watch Valentino so many times, obviously just like make it look easy, just in control. Anyone who can lead a race and actually keep the group close to them just for fun, but that was Valentino. So I was able to do it on occasions in my career, and that was the only time I ever did it in a full race. Best race of my career.
What did you take from that forward?
Well...
Or could you take anything?
Nothing. Because I couldn't do it again.
Make up these fucking questions.
I know. I couldn't do it again.
It's weird, isn't it? Is that count? Because you hear from riders on a regular basis that it's not an out-of-body experience, but they are detached from the situation.
I was fully detached. Isn't that weird? And you hear about it, and I've heard other sportsmen talk about it, and if you sat listening to this, half of you is thinking, bullshit.
No, I get it. We hear it we've heard it on podcasts over the years, 11 years of doing this. And it does, there are odd races or a qualifying lap or something like that, where somebody just goes, I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
I can't replicate it, but I can see hear and smell that whole event even now.
My God.
And you can see it with your face now, looking in your eyes.
I did a qualifying lap at Brands Hatch in the damp. That is the best experience I've ever had on two wheels. I sent it in the damp and had two-wheel drifts. You know, you hear track day riders talk about the bullshit two-wheel drifts. They're like, you didn't. And I survived this lap and I went over the line. I didn't even need to look at my lap time. I thought, no one's going to touch that. And no one got within a second of it. It was just a magical experience where it just happened. That was one of those moments where I felt like the best rider in the world. So it's such a beautiful feeling, that. And so rare. Because loads of times, Dave, it's fucking wild.
I can't even imagine.
Number one question I get asked, bet you miss racing. And the same standard answer is go, not one bit.
Not many do.
And they look at me and they go, and I go, can I just tell you why? It's so hard. To be at that level, to be on your limit, it's so hard. And that's why there's certain individuals that I really admire. John McGuinness is one. How he can do what he does.
At our age, imagine that now.
At our age?
Yeah.
At our
Are you
age.
same age as us?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I can't understand it even, that he can still push as hard as he does around the TT. He pushes hard around the TT, as you know, still going as fast as he's ever gone.
You'd take a 5th place at the TT.
Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine how hard that would be? So there are certain individuals that are very special that can keep it going. But I know I always go off on a tangent.
Please do. Sure.
I've thought this as well about analysing my career and other people's. Some of the riders that have longevity in their career, I always felt like they didn't push as hard as they possibly could have at their key time in their career. And this is my take on it. And I'm not talking about John. I'm not criticising John here at all. I'm not at all. My God, the last thing I would do is criticise John. He'd punch me on the nose. I'm not talking about John. I'm thinking of a few other riders.
This is a general view.
View, right. The general view is you've got the prime window of your career. Let's call it from 25 to 35. You could narrow it maybe even with Brits from, let's say, 27 to 33, maybe. We're talking real meat. And I was obsessed. I dedicated everything selfishly. It cost me probably my relationship first time round because I was not a nice person. And I know I wasn't. And it's so funny, my friends say to me, my mates from home all say, God, you're so different now. Because I wasn't a nice person, but I had to be obsessed. I had to worry about everything. And that's how I got the most out of myself, but I burnt myself out. Some of the riders that I've seen that have been able to carry on, and I still see them, and I think, yeah, but I know in their absolute prime window, they'd probably give it 98%, but they left 2% out there. And I think you carry that guilt. And I think you've still got something to prove. I think I've still got something to show. I'm still going to prove everyone that I'm still fast. Do you know what? I'm slow now, and I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
I love.
Some of us have always been slow. That's why I'm this sad.
As you know, I manage Alex and Alex Lowe's, and Sam and Al, we're always having banter about me riding with Al, and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is ride with you. You'll destroy me. And he's like, no, Neil, we'll have so much fun, and we would actually.
We did.
But I'm slow back. But I'd be slightly
pit biking.
Yeah. But I'd be slightly embarrassed. No, but with any pit biking sort of stuff, that's all right. I don't mind.
Are you all right with that?
Yeah, but it's like, I'm an ex-world champion. If I go on a proper race bike on a track, I should be able to be within a certain amount of seconds, but I don't want to.
There's an air of expectation.
Exactly. So
difficult.
Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent.
No, it's your show. You do what you like. You go anywhere you like. Reg, whose shows come out today, as we do the off-track time machine, as we do, he went all over the place.
Yeah.
And I don't care. This is only just to keep us some kind of date order, some kind of structure.
You've done your homework.
I've done my homework.
Well done.
Thanks, mate. It's a long time. So we did 3 or 4, maybe 5 chats on the old MotoPod back in the day. This is going back 10 years. And you were just sort of getting your feet in TNT and BT Sport. Well, it wasn't TNT then. It was BT Sport.
Yeah.
Had just come online in 2014.
Yeah.
And we chatted a few times, and I wound you up with Steve Day, and you're still the only man in history of 11 years of podcasting to question my parentage outright, which I thank you for. I spoke to Steve Day about that earlier, and I said I'd put the audio in. He's like, please don't. If you want to find it, search MotoPod, search one of the last shows myself and Neil did, and I kind of caught Neil out with a phone in, and we round him up with Steve Day, who was doing World Superbike at the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming back to BSB was kind of the biggest control, alt, and delete of your career, wasn't it? The biggest reset. But then having that chance again, because you look at BSB now, digress like, you can look at BSB now, Bradley Ray, gonna have his opportunity, come back. Will he get another chance?
It's hard to say, isn't it?
It's difficult to say, but the probability
Unlikely.
is unlikely. With you coming back for the 2 years, and it was different with the structure of racing, then the opportunities were there, and GSE as a whole took you and JT
That's right.
into the World Championship again. So this was the second coming of Neil Hodgson as a different rider with the confidence of being a British champion, and just a completely different rider.
Yeah, and the knowledge of, I know how to race a superbike.
Yeah.
I know how to win. And having the right people around me, as in a team around me then. So yeah, it made such a difference. I think that year, 2000, obviously winning the British Championship was a lot, but for me, winning as a wildcard was better.
Because that's something else to talk about. I've got the note on that as well.
Because the way I felt was I'd been this, not child star, that sounds embarrassing. This sensation. He's like, but it was.
He's
He's an ex-Foggy or whatever, and
it's the same neck of the woods.
Exactly, and I've got this opportunity, and then I underperformed, and then I felt like everyone was laughing at me. It's just how you do. It's just like insecurity. Everyone's laughing at me. Everyone thinks I'm useless. I can't cut it. The whole World Superbike paddock don't respect me, which is respects everything. And so in '99, when I did BSB, Colin and the team had talked about doing a wild card. I remember thinking, I don't know really. And Bayliss, I can't remember, I think Bayliss wanted to, which understandably, and I'm like, I'm not too sure. A bit nervous. I was slightly negative. Anyway, fast forward a year, 2000, we're thinking about doing a wild card. Are you up for it? I went, oh yeah, I am so up for it. And I was so up for it, I was so revved up that I'll never forget the first practice session. I went out, and it's the first time I'm back out on track with my old adversaries that disrespected me. But now I can ride, and I just loved it. That first practice session, I swiped everybody. I let the brake off with everyone. On my in-lap, I swiped everyone. I was a dick. I'd swiped someone and then come out and just pull a massive wheelie. And it's like, I'm ready though, I'm ready. And to win that weekend, and then to back it up and win at Brands, wow, just as a wild card, that was a feeling. Best feeling, the best race of my career was winning that first World Championship race. So if you think about it, I won British Championship 125 early on in my career. Didn't appreciate it at all. I'm stood there, I've won, and I'd won races throughout my career, but I never actually truly believed I could win at World Championship level. So to do it at home, in front of everyone, with a British team around you, my family there, oh my God, like the best. So that was the one. That was better than winning the World Championship in 2003. Honestly, the endorphin release, the maximum endorphin release, I've only experienced it once, and that was it. Coming out that last corner, because I passed Killy on the last lap because his tyre had gone off, and me and Walker had battled, we destroyed Harger. It was just, you can't even make it up. You can't make it up, because I passed him coming out of the McLean's, and then he nearly passed it back into the foggy S's. But so I'd only led for like 2 corners, and then the checkered flag was there, and I've won. Then I get to turn 1, and my best mate's at the track, on the track at turn 1, and I'm doing that with my hands because I'm like, I can't believe it. Just what a feeling! What a feeling!
I'm just going to leave that there for a minute.
Yeah, special. Very special. So.
There are times when it's right to say something, there's times when it's right to leave it. And I think that's just super, I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's super special.
Because it's your whole career. It's your whole career building to that.
Yeah.
And track invasion, it was for me. It weren't for Foggy. Like I've been through so many track invasions for Carl. And rightly so, he deserved every bloody one of them because he was an animal. This track invasions for me, they're already done for me. It's like, I've done it. But, yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah, here I am. And that was the start. And then, yeah, I was in the prime of my career.
So the 2 seasons with GSE, before you moved to the factory to catch
Yeah.
a team once again,
Yeah.
you were competitive with GSE. Colin, I guess it'd be fair to say that where Rog had the biggest influence on you from a commercial and from a riding point of view, as a rider and part of a team, is it fair to say Colin Wright was the biggest influence that you'd had on the riding side?
Yeah. He was the strongest person I'd ever worked with. He was the man that said no to me on lots of occasions, but everything was always for the right reasons, and I'd not experienced that. And Roger wouldn't do that.
That's a hard thing to get used to, being told no.
Yeah, that's
when
why
everything
we clashed for a full year.
Because as a rider, it's not the kind of the rose petals thing, but it's not far off. It's like, you've got this, you've got that, you need to do this. You are the center of the world and everything is geared up around you. And then this little bald fella with a southern accent goes, no.
Yeah, it was one hard individual. I'll give you an example. So start of the year in, I think it was, let me just think, let's double check in my head. Yeah, it was 2002. It's either 2001 or 2002. It's either the first year or second year with GSE back in World Championship racing. And we'd been to Kyle Army. We'd done a test. I put 3 qualifiers on at the end of the day, set the fastest time. I was ridiculously fast. When you put 3 qualifiers in, you can go fast.
You can go fast.
Because you put the first one in, you think there was more there. Put a second one in, bloody hell, there's more there. Put a third one in. Anyway, I was fastest. Went back for the race weekend and I finished 3rd in both races and rode so well. And I got off the bike and I was pretty much celebrating. I was like, I might have had a 3rd and a 4th. And Colin went, all right, it's going to happen like this. Meeting. Yeah, all right. What the fuck's going on? What? What the fuck's going on? I've no idea. It's like, what's going on? You were fastest in the test. Yeah. I put 3 qualifiers on, but in the race, the Michelin's like, my tyres have dropped off. No, you've dropped off. Like, what the fuck? He went, I want you to know, the man who pays your wages thinks he's paying you too much. He's not happy at all. I've just rode the wheels off. Bear in mind, not on a factory bike. I finished 3rd in one race, 4th in the next. Yeah. Like, I've beaten all the factory riders. I've beaten all your Hoggers, your coursers, like, killies, not dickheads.
Doers.
In racing, you know when you know. And I knew that day I'd rode fucking hard. JT was like 12. No offense to JT. No. JT was learning the Superbike.
Absolutely it was, yeah.
This meeting went on for 2 hours. I was fucking livid. I couldn't believe it, what was going on. We argued, I disagreed, and we argued and argued and argued. I came out of there, I was so angry. But it's like he knew what to do. And he got in my head. And I said, if I ride any harder, I go down. I've got an incredible feel. I know what I'm doing. He went, there's more out there. You're accepting it. You're giving in. And I fucking didn't think I was. And do you know what? Part of him was right. I still thought that was good enough. And it wasn't. I had to push harder. And I did. From then on, I rode better that year even. He just managed to squeeze. It was like the toothpaste is empty.
The last bit.
There's one more brush. One more brush. I'm from Burnley, you always got a last brush out. Result, I get 2. And that's what he did. But God, it was hard to live with because I should have been drinking champagne.
Yeah.
Instead, I went back to my hotel room and I was pissed. But then I just got up the next day and trained and thought, I'm going to show that motherfucker. Excuse my language, by the way.
No, it's your show. It's no problem. They're all grown-ups that watch the show. Yeah. You remind me of South Africa. Not you personally, but you remind me of the story of South Africa.
JT.
No. Matt Lloyd
was wearing suits.
Firewalk.
Oh my God, that was so bad. So what had happened was, this was after the test.
You were out there for 3 weeks or so, weren't
Yeah,
you?
we were out there for 3 weeks. I'd not drank. I didn't drink a lot when I raced. I used to love winter. Winter'd come and I'd be out down Bale, where you living the life, having a kebab at 3 a.m. But then the season of it, New Year's Eve, I'd have a drink, and then I wouldn't really drink much throughout the season. So I'd not had a drink. We'd done the test, done really well. And we decided to have a few drinks. Probably didn't have much. Anyway, I am sure to this day, I've seen so many times people walk across the coals, and it's mind over matter, and all you've got to say is cool, wet grass. Look forward, don't look down, cool, wet grass. You can trick your mind, you can get across it. So the whole team were there, and we've got this big campfire. We were camping there. And so I get a big stick and we get the ashes out. No one really knew what was happening. I'm like, all right, I can walk across that. And they're like, don't be a dick. And I'm like, seriously, it's mind over matter. But that was self-confidence at this point. Because I genuinely believed it.
Can do anything.
I can do anything. No problem. So that was it. Shoes and socks off. Cool. Homer B. Cool wet grass. Well, I knew by the second step I was in trouble. There's no point in lying. I knew I was in fucking trouble, like the worst trouble though. I thought, and I knew I've like 6 steps to go to get to the other side. So anyway, I somehow, because I'm so embarrassed, instantly I knew I'd made a mess of this. So I went, but I didn't even hobble. I just did cool wet grass, and we were sat by a pool, and I'm literally there, and I'm thinking, my feet are on fire, and I looked, and there's like glowing coals sticking to the bottom of my foot, and I went like that. And they went, well, I wasn't. And I'm like, honestly, it's not too bad. All you've got to do is you've just got to do it. As I'm doing it, my feet are just going like this. Anyway, I'm trying to think who else did it. I think, who was it? I think 2 other people did it. Was it Pete? Pete Bancevich? I can't remember. Anyway, I convinced other people to do it, but as soon as they stood on the coals, they weren't mentally as strong as me. They were like, oh fuck! Oh my God! The next day, my feet swelled up, infection. Oh my God! What a mess! So yeah, what an idiot!
What a time that was.
Oh my God! I had to, and then we were racing in Japan, and they were still infected, and Colin, literally, I had the chat with Colin going, your feet are going to be all right, aren't they? He looked at me and I went, yeah, they'll be fine. I knew they were in trouble. And it's like, that weren't going to be an excuse. Anyway, I rode really hard, but my feet were killing me. Anyway, yeah, what an idiot. JT loved it. Oh, he loved it. He
didn't have a go, did he?
No, she's bloody... JT's not stupid.
JT not daft.
JT was so funny that year.
Was he good fun as a teammate?
Yeah. It was funny, right? So James, when he came so young, I used to call him the handbrake, right? Because he was that dead reserved. And James is funny because when you get to know James, obviously he's a really funny lad, and sometimes he can come across a little bit straight. But so I used to go, James, let your bloody handbrake off, will you? Like the first time we went on a trip together, we shared a room and all that lot. And he was telling me stories about, I've had a text off this girl and I don't really know what to do. And I'm like, mate, what are you doing? This is it, mate.
Draw your picture.
This is it. It was funny. He listened to me. I tell you, good. We joked about it. We've joked about it since, going, remember the chat about the handbrake? I said, you didn't let the handbrake off. You clipped you snipped the handbrake cable altogether.
Rip it out, chuck it out the window. That's it. It's gone.
We had some good times. Do you know? I never saw him as a threat. I never thought James would win a world championship. I knew James was a great fast rider. But I thought I'll help him. I'll try and get him the best results I possibly can. Bloody hell, that lad was impressive. Because I genuinely don't think he was super talented. I know Roger said it about him. What he achieved was through work.
Yeah.
God, he grafted.
But doesn't hard work and talent beat talent on its own every time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he just made it happen and got faster and faster. When we were teammates, he was probably 7 out of 10. Yeah. Where in his career, he ended up at 10, didn't he? Obviously, winning the 2 world titles, winning on the 10-kart bike. I watched that year. Bloody hell,
it was an incredible achievement.
Do you know when you watch someone ride the shit out of a bike and it's very impressive?
I think it's underrated achievements.
Yeah, massively. And then obviously in terms of the
kit that he was on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he went to GP and was outstanding nearly got put. Was he second in the?
Was it Qatar? Was it?
Yeah, exactly.
Front
Yep.
row, and there's
Yeah. Was that his first Grand Prix?
yeah. It was meant almost 100% sure it was. Yeah.
So yeah, good old JT.
Which then takes us to 2003,
Yeah,
the big year.
big year.
Tell me about that year.
Big year, tough year, because I agreed 3/4 of the way through 2002 to sign for the factory team.
Yep.
Roger sorted the deal out. And I remember being in Laguna Seca, and Davide Tardozzi came up to me. We were walking through the paddock, it was hot. And Davide, who I've always got on well with, but he's quite an intimidating character. I didn't know him very well then, that well. And he came up to me and he went, hey, big news, big news for next year. And I'm like, yeah, big news, yeah. And he just like grabbed me like that, like, yeah. And he went, next year, it's new mic. I went, yeah, I know, the 999, yeah. We have to win. We have to win. No, like, you know that. And I'm like, all right, dude, chill out. It's July. It's July in 2002. I'm not like, yeah.
Talk to me when we go testing.
I literally walked away. I was like, nah. I thought,
But the seed was set.
yeah, I thought he's intense.
Like an Italian Colin.
I like-
like an Italian Colin Wright.
What I liked about it was, yeah, and that was good for me.
Yeah.
It was very similar. And I like that. I liked it. Because then I came away and I thought, wow, he wants to win as much as me. How good's that? Because that's all you ever want. You want a team to want to win more than anything. I'm the one doing all the sacrifices at home, being a weirdo with everyone, being obsessed, sacrificing your
This is
your
what it's
life.
for.
This is what it's for, and he wants it the same. And still does to this day, Davide. When you see him, does anyone want it more than Davide Tardozzi in the MotoGP paddock? I'm going to say probably not.
We've got a conversation to come about that for this year. We get through the racing career. Interesting story. It might be interesting to the listeners or to the viewers, but it's interesting for me on a personal level. When you took the title at Assen, you were on the fence. You had an England shirt,
Yeah.
with Holly's name on the back because she'd just been born. Is she not?
Yeah, she'd been born that week.
She'd been born that week.
Yeah.
There's an England shirt with
Yeah.
Holly and number 1 on
Yeah.
the back. There's some of my best mates that gave
Oh,
me that,
all right.
that
Oh,
shirt
cool. Yeah.
from my hometown because you swapped the helmet
That's right.
with
Yeah.
a guy called Lee.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I think he's still got the lid
Yeah,
now.
I've met him since. I bumped into him since.
So with Eki and the shirt and all the lads from the local pub and
Oh, that was just unreal. What a great atmosphere. Just obviously, like, what dreams are
what a
made.
place to do it. If you can't do it in the UK,
Yeah, Assen, where it's
Assen's a place
full
to do it.
Full of Brits. And I'd got the T-shirt, Who's the Daddy T-shirt on,
yes.
which I'd spelt my daughter's name wrong, which everyone takes a piss out of. So I can finally, because I'm so bored of people going, didn't you spell your daughter's name wrong? I'm like, look, I know my spelling's not great, but I'm not that bad. What had happened was Holly'd been born on the Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday of that week. So I was there for the birth, and then I went to Assen. And as I left it, it was spelled with a Y. When I came back, it was IE. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Tell me the contrast in the work, because of how eloquently you spoke about the British Championship. Tell me the difference in winning the World Championship and winning the British Championship for Neil Hodgson.
Winning the World Championship wasn't as exciting because, I know that sounds well weird. You're like, what?
That's why I'm asking.
It's like, but obviously, lifetime goal to be in a position to be able to win the world title. But I knew pretty much straight away that I was going to win the World Championship because the first time I tested the bike, I didn't like the bike at all. We'd got weird black ground clearance issues. It kept grinding out. I sit very central on the bike, so I have a lot of lean angle. So it didn't work, wasn't comfortable. Front end of the bike felt awful. Nothing like my old bike. But what was unreal were the tyres. And I then finally realised what I've been racing against. And this is the difference, right? So with the factory Ducati, I ran the factory Michelin tyres. With the GSE Ducati, I ran the factory Dunlop tyres.
Yes.
Now, grip level, to shock you, well, maybe not, they don't better. Grip level.
Really?
Quite a bit. I'd probably say 0.2 of a second a lap better.
Okay.
But over a race, they drop, you'd lose a second a lap.
No cliff.
So you go like that. Michelin's 0.2 slower grip level. On your first flying lap, you're about 0.2 down.
Yeah.
And with a Michelin, you'd lose about 0.2 throughout the race.
Right. Okay.
So, and that's what I realised. I
Consistency.
couldn't believe the first proper test, once we got the ground clearance issues, we went to Valencia for a test, And I did a race run, and my fastest lap of the race was my last lap, lap 25. On a Dunlop, never.
No.
And then, like, not in a million years. And I remember my lap times on this race, doing this race run, and I remember them staying pretty stable. And then I'm like, I'm going slightly faster. And then the last lap, I really went for it. I'm like, I've just set the fastest lap of the race. A lap record, private test. Lap record on the last lap. The team couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, they're going to get it this year.
Yeah.
And they did. I won the first 9 races. But this is what no one would believe. If I had my GSE bike from the year before and you put the exact same tyres in, I'd have won by a miles greater margin.
Okay.
The bike was better.
Yeah.
What really worked well for me was the psychology of racing. So everyone, because the 999 looked so different, I won all those races early on. All my opponents, they're like killing other decent riders on Ducatis, thought we don't stand a chance against that 999. And I never said it, obviously, because you can't.
No.
And it was like, no, but your bike's better, but you've no idea.
Because they were in the 998 stuff.
Exactly. So I would have given for anything to be on the old bike.
And still won the World Championship on it.
Yeah.
In contrast, how much of a reality check was Danton the year later?
That was so bad luck. It just came at the wrong time. And I was unlucky. The main reason I was unlucky was because Danton lost their main sponsor.
Yeah.
So he ran a team that wasn't the best, but it certainly wasn't a disaster.
No, it wasn't. No, it was a good mid-pack team. If you're going to go into GPs again, it's a good mid-level team to go in with, so you can learn and then build.
So actually on paper, it wasn't a disaster, as in you're going to sign for that team, they're going to run the last year's factory bikes. Perfect, sounds doable. If I can do a good job, I might get on the factory bike in a couple of years. That's what I was thinking. And I believed it, definitely believed it. And then before the season started, he got a Visa as a sponsor, and it was a big money deal. And he got let down. It fell through. I've no idea what the full story was. And that was it. The team ran without any budget, and no one got paid. We had second-hand everything. We never put new discs in. We did, obviously, at some point. But let's say you're supposed to have 10 lots of discs throughout. We had 3. And I had so much brake failure and bike leaking, and the bike was terrible. The poor mechanics didn't get paid. I took Anthony Warnock Skip, an Australian friend of mine who worked with me when I won the World Championship, and I took him into that team. He didn't get paid. He got a mortgage and all that lot. It was just a mess. But the annoying thing about Louis Dantin was he was just a nasty, horrible, lying weasel. And he was the guy where I got my first invoice paid, maybe my second, and then after a month after the third one I'd been paid, I went, Louis, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
You've not paid me. You what? You've not paid me. Impossible. But like this. Impossible. Just wait. Hi, yeah. He'd be like basically going, oh, yeah. Sorry, there's been some problem. They pay you now. Wait, when you get home, check. Now bear in mind, he never paid me. He didn't pay me. This had been like May. He never paid me a penny after May. So he just lied to everyone and owed everyone, and the bike was horrendous. So if you think about this, I'm in my absolute prime. I'm riding against the best riders in the world. I'm riding against Valentino Rossi. And you try and have a go at beating them. And when you say you don't stand a chance, they didn't pay the tyre bill, so we got the worst tyre. It was just a complete waste of time. But Roger was fantastic. I know he mentioned it in the podcast with you, where Roger was really good. When they agreed for me, I had a factory Ducati contract. Ducati wanted me to go with the Danton team, but Roger said, we'll agree all this, but you have to underwrite this just in case Lewis doesn't pay, basically. Got that all in the contract. And
anything, the best bit of business he ever did on your behalf.
It was my biggest payday ever in my career. So for your biggest year of your financially, the biggest earner that you're going to have in your career, for you not to get paid, it's a bit of a bummer, isn't it? So,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so it was stressful. It wasn't enjoyable. And I remember saying not even halfway through the season, I said, I don't want to continue in GPs.
Join the ultimate track day experience with Slick Moto Events, the UK's fastest growing premium European track day company. With a family-friendly, chilled-out vibe, they're redefining the game, giving riders more than just a track day, it's an experience. Slick Moto Events' spectacular 2025 calendar will challenge even a MotoGP or World Superbike schedule. Portimao, Mugello, Red Bull Ring, Misano, back to Mugello, and a season finale at Catalunya, and they provide European flat track experiences too. Search Slick Moto Events across social media or visit slickmotoevents.co.uk. Thank you, and back to the show.
And what I did, I looked around as well, and I looked at some really fast riders that seemed happy, genuinely happy to be battling for 12s and 13s every week, earning decent money, earning 400 or 500 grand a year. And I used to look at them and think, do you know what? I'd rather earn less, but know that I'm in a competitive, on a competitive bike that I can battle for the front. That's what I'd learned. So I was happy to get out of MotoGP.
Some of that's down to personal pride as well, isn't it? As a motorcycle racer, why do you go racing?
Yeah, exactly.
Or to at least finish 5th.
Yeah, not to just get a salary because you're in a factory team.
Yeah.
But we can do the bike's rubbish, but we can battle for 11, so it's like a win.
We'll show the sponsors, that's where we'll get to, and that's what the best we can hope for. Dantine, is he in jail now? Or did he?
I'm not too sure. Definitely.
Maybe I don't want to play
like proper dodgy.
All sorts of things.
Yeah, proper dodgy.
I can't remember whether it was or not. So that then takes you to America for 5 years.
Yeah, so what happened with that? Halfway through the year, I'm not happy. I speak to Ducati. They said, look, because I was obviously contracted to them really. They said, World Superbikes, there's an opportunity possibly, but we've got everybody that we want there at the moment. The salaries had plummeted massively because the switch to Pirellis didn't work. Honda jumping out the championship. All of a sudden, Ducati realised we don't have to pay people 300 or 400 grand. We can pay them 100 grand and they'll be happy to ride for us because we're like the main factory team.
We're still going to win.
Exactly. So financially, it was like there wasn't a clear opportunity. Financially, definitely weren't going to be anything worth that looked interesting. But then they said, look, we want to break America. It's a massive market for us. We've always done okay, but never been able to win the championship. Would you be interested? And my ears really pricked up because, not because of the money. I was nervous because of the money. No, my ears pricked up because
it was as well going around.
Straight away was, I loved racing in America. Every time I'd gone to Laguna, anyway, whenever I've been into America, it was my favourite country. And I thought, well, I love it there. I thought, wow, what a life experience. I'm going to have a chance to win a championship. I'm going to have a factory team around me. I love America anyway. And that's how it started. As it all turned out, if you look back at that part of my career, obviously a lot of people won't know this, it'll look quite disappointing. And they'll go, bloody hell, that weren't quite what I expected. Maybe he wasn't trying. That wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. The first 2 years on the Ducati, we were so unlucky because it was 2005. It's when the new GSXR came out, and it was a massive step. Yeah, it just was. And it's not me like, oh, poor me. I went to my first test, went out there, first test, lap record, track I've never seen before, weird track. I'm like, I am going to be the American champion. Like, how cool is that going to be? I'm going to be British champion, I'm going to be World Superbike champion, I'm going to be American champion. Next test, lap record. They went, yeah, but Speeds and Maladdin were here last week. They were 2 seconds faster. You're like, they can't be. And
wow.
Genuinely, that's what happened. They found 2 seconds, and we ended up like, I go to racetracks, literally, I'd be 3 seconds a lap slower than Matt Maladdin.
Which is
just think about it.
Ridiculous.
I've just come from MotoGP.
Yeah.
I'm faster than my teammate. I'm faster than the lap record. He's just absolutely obliterated it. Like, just weird that fight was that good. But then, it sounds boring, but I'm going to put it out there. The team was very, very good, Yoshimura's team. They were using traction control 100%. You weren't allowed to. They were completely banned. You could hear it. Bike smelt different, fuel again. And you're just like, it is what it is. All I know is, because I say this a lot about racing, you can't lie to yourself. When you close your eyes, when you go to bed, turn the light off, close your eyes, you have to live with you. You know if you give everything, and I give everything. So the results weren't quite what, but I couldn't control.
No.
I beat my teammate always. I had good teammates, Eric Bostrom, Ben Bostrom, Miguel de Hamel. I always beat my teammates. But that aside, I love the life experience. Like we're 51, 52.
Yeah.
This is our one life. Depending on what you believe, I have no idea what other people believe, but for me, this is our one life. We don't get another go at this, right? I got to live in Southern California on and off for like 4 or 5 years. I've always been a motocross fan. I met my heroes. I rode with my heroes. The life experience, it was 10 out of 10. And what I don't want that to get confused with, I've been out on the piss partying. No, I'm talking about life experience of doing stuff like going riding with my motocross heroes, going to supercross races, all away from racing, and actually working with the teams out there were fantastic. I rode the factory Ducati. I worked with some really good people. I rode for American Honda. I used to go to the factory there, the history of that place, looking at Ricky Carmichael's supercross bike or whatever. So,
but that's life away from the track, isn't it? It's what you said. You dedicated, as any rider does that achieves anything in the sport, have dedicated so much in those early years to your mid-late 20s before you figure out what this shit's about and how you deal with it. And then you get to America and you do the same thing. And I saw it beginning of January. Rory Skinner was out there. He went and did a similar sort of thing. He was out there with Hopper and they were riding in Robbie Madison's back garden.
How cool's that? No, but that's America. If you know people down there in Southern California, everyone lives around and it's like, oh, do you want to come here? Do you want to
come and ride my compound?
Why don't you come to Travis's? I'm at Travis's. Why don't you, me and Jeremy McGrath? Me and Jeremy McGrath, it's Jeremy McGrath, the greatest supercross rider of all time. We're mates. Hey, Hodgie this. And we'd go to a party and I'm like, I'm studying with Troy Lee. The Troy Lee Designs, man. And I'm mates with him.
But why not?
Yeah.
Because that's the life part of it. This is the bit that I fully agree with you. You in a lot of cases, you're master of your own destiny. And we spoke about manifestation the other week, and you can engineer situations to your benefit. But this ain't a practice run. No. We've all lost friends over the years.
We've all lost friends.
And you sort of like...
And at our age now, and I don't mean it... You just don't know what's around the corner.
No.
People say illnesses come and you just don't bloody know, do you?
I'm a big country music fan for myself. I like the 90s stuff. I like all sorts of eclectic stuff. One lyric a couple of years ago of one song, he talks about being the age he is. And he says there's more sand in the bottom than the top.
Yeah.
And I listened to that for the first time and I went, fuck. That's me.
Yeah, that's us, isn't it?
There is more sand in the bottom of that sand timer for me, regardless. It doesn't matter if it's today or in 20 years' time.
Yeah.
We've already done 50.
Yeah,
this is getting a bit deep, but
no, of course.
This is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think I've got 25, 30 years ahead.
Oh, you aren't. You don't. No, you've no chance.
Jen's going to have me stuffed.
You've absolutely no chance. I mean, if you've got 5 and you've done well, that literally, I've just in the set of you. The hell's gone?
Cheeky swap. That's incredible. And I'm sat here breathing in as well because I knew I was coming up. And Jen says, are you going to do some press-ups before you go? I said, no, I'm going to wear a fucking shirt so he can't see me. Thanks, mate. Next time you're in the bridge, drinks are on me.
No, it's true, though. It is true.
But it is. And that's exactly how it is. And whether that resonates with some of the listeners we've got, because I think 65% of our listeners are 45 plus.
Yeah.
So that's the way it happens.
But I sort of mentioned that about the America because that's a question I get asked a lot. I bet you regret racing in America.
I can't see why you would.
It's a funny line because I know that, like I say, the results weren't horrendous, but you're like, no.
No, but the experience for Neil Hodgson, the person, far outweighs everything else.
Massively.
Chaz, James, Ellison, all went out there.
That's right.
And enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Tell me about, because you talk about what you just said now about life and how things change and how America changed you. The motocross crash, 2009. What? When you say just then, you never know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
Prime example.
Thank God.
Or the biggest example for you.
Yeah. So basically, it's the end of my career. It's what ended my career. So in in 2008, I rode for the factory Honda team, and they were changing the rules for 2009 to make them more super stock related. So I was on the factory contract, and they said, at the start of the year, they went, we've got some bad news. Honda don't invest to improve the bike. So what they're going to do, they're going to focus on 2009. You're going to run a stocker. Honestly, I'm not lying. Obviously, I don't lie. So I'm like, but so you're going to sacrifice results this year, but we're going to be in a really strong position moving forward. And I'm like, all right, old chestnut. I had a horrible season. Like, the results weren't good. Beat my teammate. Some half decent results, but like way off the front. Anyway, 2009 starts, go to the first race. I finish pre-season testing. Oh, guess what? Shock horror. Everybody's slow and I'm fast because we're ahead of everyone. So I'm fast in all the tests, fastest. And bear in mind, it's Mladen, and it's not what I call duck eggs. I'll tell you a story about Ben Spies as well, though. But anyway, let me just finish what I'm saying. So obviously I've been racing in Spies every year as well. And Aaron Yates, and some of them lads were quick. But anyway, so first race is Daytona. I finished second. Mladen wins, I'm second. But I'm on it. I'm like, so go home, go training, have a really good session motocrossing, ride for like 2 or 3 hours, come to the end, and I'm there with a mate, and they have like what they call a pro track, which is the big track. And then you've got a vet track, which is like for more like low level riders. Yeah. It's good setup over there. So I look on the vet track, my mate said, I'm just about to put my bike on the truck. The famous, one more lap. I thought, I'll just go and have a blast with him. So start the bike up, go over, and they've just watered this track. So it's like really dry. And when they water it, it makes it really slippy. And I wasn't even thinking, obviously. And I go around, and my mate's going towards this tabletop, which is a jump like that. And he's pretty steady, so I thought, what I'll do, it'd be pretty funny. I'll jump past him in the air. So as I'm going towards a jump like that, he's slow, and I'm going like that, catching him, and he goes up the face of the jump and spins up, and he goes like that, and turns in front of me, like he's just like crashed on the face of this jump. It's well weird, and already I'm fully committed. So I hit the face of the jump, and at the highest point of the jump, I hit him sideways. So I hit him, and then I go over the bars, and I'm in the air, and I just thought, I am fucked. So anyway, I land flat. We're in the middle of nowhere, we're in this weird desert area, and I mean the middle of nowhere. So I hit the ground, it's horrible, usual. Anyway, I've got broken every rib on my left-hand side, collapsed lung, but my shoulder is just completely ripped out the socket. Everything, your rotator cuffs and everything, bicep tendons, all gone. And my arm's out and it's around the back. I'm led on the floor. I'm conscious, which is the worst part. So I'm fully conscious. And I've crashed, obviously, I've raced bikes since I was 10. I've had all sorts of crashes, broke loads of bones. You're used to it. It hurts, you get used to it. You don't actually panic that much because it's normal. You're like, oh, fuck, I've dummy raced or whatever. So I'm lying there, and it's the only time I've ever panicked because I couldn't breathe. And I knew where I was. I'm like, I am nowhere. I don't even, like, we must be 2 hours away from civilization. So as I'm lying there, struggling to breathe, and people have stopped now, and there's people around me, and I'm like, I can hear him going, dude, look at his arm. And I'm like, I can't even see my arm because it's come out the back and it's flopped over. It was like flopped over there. And they're like, fuck, he's fucked. And then like some of my friends are there, and I'm like, I can't breathe. You know, because I couldn't breathe. I'm fucking collapsed lung. There's no help. I'm like, get help. You've got to get help. You've got to get help. And it's just like, I'm in agony. Anyway, it's probably about an hour before a helicopter come, but it's all a blur, you can imagine. They were trying to move me, and I'm telling them not to because I knew something was wrong, obviously, with the collapsed lung and all that shit. And then next thing, basically, I don't really remember much because then when they come, they inject you.
In goes the good stuff.
Just give me everything. I'm like that. Just give me everything. And then you sort of wake up and you've had an operation, and you're like that. And they were like, yeah, you made a right mess of your shoulder. Obviously, you catheter and all the usual. Catheter. Why is it when they come to remove a catheter, they send a young, attractive girl? It's so embarrassing.
I don't know. Is it easier to get out? I don't know. I've never had one, so I don't know.
No, it's just weird. So then, it was a bodged operation. I then rushed to come back. I go on and have more scans, and it's one of the rotator cuffs come off again. I can't lift my arm up. I'll tell you this, I don't know if I've told this story before, but the way my contract was with Honda was I could miss a certain amount of races and it didn't affect what I got paid. But then if I missed, like, let's say, if it's a quarter, then it really affected me. I got docked half my salary. So the calendar was quite spread out. So I'd looked at it and I thought, well, I'd seen this physio guy in it. I said, look, I need to be back for then. He went, that's going to be tough. I went, no, but if I ride, I don't even have to ride fast. I've at least
Turn up and give it a go.
Turn up and give it a go. So we agree and do all this work, and I rushed it, and I shouldn't have done this. I should have actually not even thought about the money. I should have just got my shoulder out. But anyway, I'm an idiot. So I rushed everything. So I turn up at, I forgot what it's called now, but it was called Sears Point. Is it Infineon Raceway? Real physical little track. Great little track on a 600, not on a Superbike. But anyway, and genuinely, I promise you this is what happened. So I set off in practice, and I let the clutch out, and I'm like, my shoulder's fucked. And I'm going slow, so I'm like, I look over my shoulder like that. And as I turn back, I promise you, with the wind on me, I couldn't put my arm on the handlebar because it was blowing my arm back. And I went like, and I can't take this arm off. So then I have to roll off, and then I go, and once I got my hand on the handlebar, I was all right.
So it was support for it.
Because it was like support for it, but when I went like that, I couldn't lift it up. I was lifting it up like that, but when with the so anyway, to cut a long story short, I rode round like 28th. And anyway, I finished that season, had another operation to try and fix it. And then I did what every stupid motorcycle racer does. Doesn't listen to themselves, doesn't use their intelligent side of the brain. They still think they're the man. And I thought, I'll tell you what I'll do. This will make a lot of sense. You've got one arm, you know you are fucked. Tell you what, why don't you come and do another round of another year of BSB? Go out on a high, Neil, because you're the man. Instead of going, you know you can't do it. Your body's done. Anyway, so I had the second operation. It made it no better at all. I rode the bike at Almeria. I remember riding around Almeria with one arm. Dan Linfoot was my teammate. I was trying to follow Dan Linfoot. And I don't mean that, and I definitely don't mean that disrespectful. But at the time, we were in different parts of my career. I should have been probably a second faster than Dan Linfoot, if not 2 seconds at that, because he was new to Superbikes.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
So, and like I say, obviously Dan's gone on to have a fantastic career, but he was like so young then. And I remember trying to stay with him, and so I was riding with one arm. And I remember just hating it, thinking, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done? How can you get out of this? Like, what a mess.
That's the kind of experience now that you can pass on to Al.
Exactly. Well, it turned out really good. It's just something really different what we said. It turned out really good because I high-sided it the first round, landed straight on my shoulder again. And again, I don't mind admitting this. I hurt my shoulder, but I didn't really damage it. It was already damaged. And as I was sliding down the road, it was the best, weirdest feeling I've ever had, because all my life, I'd put pressure on myself. All my life, I'd been the worst. I didn't need anyone to put pressure on me. It was all put on by me. And it does after racing. Everything I do now, I was up in the gym early this morning, because I have to live with me, and that's what I want to do. And I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to be weirdo me. But that's
who you are.
I am who I am. So, and as I was sliding, and it was hurting down the road, I had this quite a nice feeling, because I knew it was over. And I went to the medical centre, and my mum and dad walked in, and I sat there, and I was beaten up, and I went, I'm done. I am done. And my dad's going, shh. Because obviously it's round 1 of the British Superbike Championship. And to this day, it's the best decision I've ever felt. And it was instant. The weight came off my shoulders. I can be happy. I don't have to be happy because of a result. I don't have to let the result determine my mood, who I am. Are we all having a good day? Did Neil have a good result? No, he was rubbish. We're not having a good day. Oh no, Neil did well. We're all good. Everyone's good.
I've heard this a couple of times, and I forget, I do a disservice to the guests. We have quite a few guests over the last few years. And I've heard it a few times where there's been that last crash, or there's been something that's happened, and it's flicked that switch, and they've instantly felt better either before they've stopped rolling or as they leave the hospital. And they just notice like, that's it, that's me done.
Yeah.
And what a great feeling.
Yeah, what a great feeling. I was 36. Like I've been, do you miss racing? Oh my God, I started racing when I was 8 or 9. Didn't finish till I was 36. Every bloody year, every year. Injuries, hard work, training, guilt. I'm not doing enough, need to do more. What you eating? Need to weigh myself. Need to train more. I've had a beer. Oh my God, you've had a beer? You've had a beer? I hate myself. Why did I drink? I shouldn't have had that beer. I shouldn't have had that beer. Why did I have that beer? I didn't even know why I had that beer. And that's intense. That's living with it. But for year after year after year, and I'm not saying poor me. I am not saying poor me at all.
I would be really disappointed if somebody thought that, because that's the mentality of being a motorcycle racer at the top of your game.
Yeah.
You're one of many.
Yeah.
It's just that we're sat here now and you're telling your story.
Yeah, and that's all I want to get across. That's what it was like for me. That's what I had to live with. I had to live with me. She's not nice. That's my wife.
But what I mean, life now is like we said before. It's a very blessed existence. 2 great kids, happy home life, a great job.
Yeah.
It's what you work hard for, but you have to take your opportunities when they're put in front of you.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity came for TV work, were you ready for it? Did you fancy it, or was it just like, yeah, why not? Let's give it a go.
I fancied it. I definitely weren't ready for it. I was a bit rough around the edges when I started.
But that's public opinion.
But well, that's a general opinion. But I love it. I love it because I get all the thrill of the racing because I'm still involved in it. I get the adrenaline because I'm on live TV. I've got an opinion. I'm paid to have an opinion.
Yeah.
I've got an opinion. I'm not controversial just for clickbait. I don't say stuff because I think, oh, this will wind people up. I've got quite a strong opinion and I believe in my opinion. I feel like I've earned my opinion over the years. I'm not hard on riders just for the sake of it. I'll be hard on a rider when I think, no, he's underperformed, and I'll explain why and he should do better. I also understand what the riders are going through. I work with some phenomenal people, and that really makes a job, because when you think about it this way, Dave, I spend possibly more time with Gavin Emmett than I do with my wife. Think about this. Me and Gav have done this job. We're going into year 12 this year. If I worked out the amount of days I've spent with Gav, we've never had a crossword. We've actually never been close having a crossword. Maybe one time. But now we're just trying to think time, aren't you? No, we're definitely both drunk. But the whole crew that I work with, and it's the people that you don't see. It's the producers that you work with. It's the whole team, the harmony that we've got. I'm so bloody lucky. That's where I absolutely love it. I love my job.
One of my favourite chats last year, and I guess in some ways, my top 3 favourite episodes, there's like 12 of them. I can't pick a top 3. But one of my favourite episodes to do last year was with Charlie Hiscombe.
I love Charlie's. Oh my God, I've listened to so many, but Charlie's was fascinating.
Charlie's was so fascinating, and he was so admiring of you and the friendship that you had. And I thought that was brilliant because, as I said before, I love good things happening to good people. And listening to Charlie and his stories and how, because he's watched you grow through, he's been there in and out for years. And the admiration that he has for what you do and your approach to it all. And he's seen them all, and he's worked with Tony. He's seen so many people through BSB Worlds and MotoGP. And I thought that was just brilliant. That was one of my favourite chats because nobody really knew Charlie. To see him knocking around in the background.
Fascinating, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't get the chance to ask him any stories.
Good.
It's a shame. So what's your best Charlie story?
Oh my God, there's so many Charlie stories. Oh my God. What was good about someone like Charlie? So Charlie's essentially as a producer.
Yes.
He also obviously did some, I hate the word, but I was going to say talent stuff. They called people in front of camera talent.
They do,
but
that's just standard for the industry.
Yeah, which is It's such a weird word.
You turn left on the aeroplane, they turn right.
Yeah, but it is bad. But Charlie did some commentary and some other bits, and obviously was fantastic at it. But where Charlie was really good, because he just gets the role of a producer. Like, I'll be doing a track guide, and I'll have a bit of an idea, and he'll go on, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? You know, and I go, oh, well, I'm going to do this and all that. And he's like, no, you need more. Come on, be yourself. I want to see Honji. Come on. And he always just says the right things at the right time to get the most out of you. And that's what a really good producer is able to do. But we like, it's like the sound men that I work with, the cameramen, the relationships I've got with all those people, because I've worked with them for over 10 years. So you are friends. It's a really nice environment to work with. Think about this. How many jobs do people do where you work all day and then you spend the evening with them? Then you work all day. There's not a lot of jobs that you're sort of forced into doing that. And for it to work is tricky. And it's not always been the same. There's been years where the atmosphere's not been quite the same. But I think right now, the way the team's structured and everyone that's in it, when you go through, you've got someone like Michael Laverty, who is so intelligent, so articulate, can explain the most technical things in very few words.
Useful for me.
And me, my God. He's the opposite to me. I use too many. It's like I'm getting paid per word. You know, so I just keep talking.
Just throw them out there.
You've got Michael there, you've got Gav, who's an incredible lead commentator, been working in the paddock for 25 years, knows all the riders, known them since they first came into the paddock. He's got a working relationship with them. Can call a race perfect. Going through Sylvain Gintoli, it was just me and him are like brothers. We just bounce off each other. Obviously, he's so current.
Yeah.
Super fast still. Even though we take the piss out of each other, he's so much faster than me on a motorcycle. But a great friend. But we're led by Susie, who, just think about it, Susie's been doing that job essentially since mid-90s. Like 96, 97 when
she was the trailblazer. She was the original female presenter for motorcycle racing, and still is pretty much.
When it was hard, when it was hard for a female to come into this industry, God, she had to be tough, and she still is. And do you know what? She demands a level from us all, and she still steers the ship and motivates everyone. And occasionally, most days, we'll have done a bit of a rehearsal, believe it or not, we would do a rehearsal. And then we'll be just about to go live, and she'll snap us into it going, right, come on, right, oh, energy, come on, I need some energy now. And you're like, but it's needed. It's needed. So Natalie as well, obviously, Nat Quirk's fantastic. Just Rachel, she comes in and comes out. It's just it's a great team.
Great team of people.
I forgot someone. I've forgotten whoever. No.
The only one I want to give a shout out to is my old paddock chatter mate, Alana.
Alana Fellows. Again, that's another great example. So Alana joined the team. She joined as a runner.
Yeah.
When she was like 17, 18. Yeah. Young girl, enthusiastic. And she's worked her way up. And now she's like the number one producer. She's got a good working relationship with everyone, all the PR teams in the paddock. And she knows how to make good TV. And
she's incredible. This goes back to paddock chatter.
But she's a machine.
She is.
She's a machine. She's a proper grafter, isn't she? So, yeah.
There's so much respect for her. But when you go back to paddock chatter, maybe some of our listeners and viewers go back, when we go back 2012, 2013, there was myself, Ollie Rushby, Matt Dunn, and Alana, when Twitter was good.
Yeah.
When it was entertaining. And Ollie's now Yamaha Europe press officer in World Superbikes. Matt's running his own media agency after being at Dorna for 8 or 9 years. Alana was part and parcel of it, and I get to sit here with you.
Yeah,
it's all nice, isn't it?
Where did it all go wrong?
How has the role changed for you over the years, and how has commentary changed over the years?
Quite a bit. Hey, you know, I'm just thinking then. You know, when you're old, Alana's 30 now. That's when you know you're old.
She was 18. It's the same with Matt Dunn.
Yeah, in my head, Alana's just a young girl. She's like, I don't mean that disrespectful to her.
No,
you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
22-year-old girl, but she's 30 now. Like,
yeah, she is.
It's changed a lot. I was so lucky when it first started with BT. I was brought on part-time as a reporter. That's how it was initially said in those very first conversations before we went out. Then it changed to, oh, you and Gav are going to be on site, but everything's going to be done from a studio, but you'll report. And it's just grown. And there were bits of the job I hated, there were bits of the job I liked. And I've ended up in a situation, and I've never asked for it. It's almost like, obviously the things that I've enjoyed doing, I've ended up doing more of, not through choice, but it's been seen that it's how it's fallen. And as it stands at the moment, everything that I do, I really enjoy. So I love commentating. Like one of my favourite things is a free practice. I love a gossip chat. So we've got a 40-minute chat. The true fans are watching then. It's a Friday afternoon. I don't know what the figures are. It's been relatively low.
It will be, yeah.
They're your hardcore fans. But I love that because it's, Dave, it's people like you, a hardcore fan, who you want to know the proper gossip. So, and with time to let it breathe. It's not, you don't have to always talk about what's happening on the screen. It's a free practice session. Guess what? They're testing some tyres and a setting. If something happens, we'll talk about it. If not, we'll generally talk about the gossip. I love that thing. And working with the people I work with, it is literally like we sat here talking. So many times I forget I'm on TV. And I have to be super careful not to just slip a swear word in like you would do casually.
Yeah.
Obviously, strangely,
Because that's two blokes talking.
it's frowned upon
I can't think why.
in TV. So you have to be careful of that. But what's happened is, over the years, I've become a lot more comfortable in my own skin. In general, with TV, I get nervous before a race because I'm excited, not nervous that I'm going to make a mess of it. I've been doing it for years now, and I sort of know. And I always looked up to James Whittam. Well, I've always looked up to James in general in life because he's just a good egg, innit? And I've always he's been my role model. He's always been true to himself. James is as straight as they come, calls a spade a spade. I don't even know if you can say that. I've got nothing.
It's fun.
But he's just a really good person. So yeah, he's been like my inspiration. And I've always liked James's commentary whenever I listen to it.
Is it difficult to be yourself in those early days of being in front of the camera to then be comfortable enough to go, actually, like we said about Whit, when he tempered his accent and things like that, you are who you are. How long did it take you to get to that point?
I'd probably say 3 years before I started to feel really comfortable. I don't know if I've ever said this before. I didn't really enjoy the first year. I used to call Vic, my wife, maybe the early rounds, and I'd get back to my hotel room, as you do, and I'd be like, oh, I'm not enjoying it. She's like, oh, you'll be all right. I'm like, no, it's just not what I thought. I don't know, it's just not really enjoying it. And it lasted a while. I kept trying to get better, and I think it was like, the harder I tried at it, that's it. In fact, I've solved the puzzle first I'm talking. The harder I tried, the worse I was. And do you know what, I've found that I'll start a commentary session with a load of notes, and I will stutter, fumble all my way through it. If I have some notes, and I'll skim them, but I don't need them in front of me. As soon as I'm trying to read stuff and be clever and be informative, I'm useless. I'm more spontaneous. I've got a lot of knowledge, and I can retain information if I read it anyway.
Yes.
You know, championship positions. I also say this, guess what? I'm not paid to be the stat man. I don't need to tell you how many third places, finishes I've had. People care, people love a stat. I'm not the stat man. That's not my job. I'm here to tell you, I'll tell you what that feels like now. You ain't sleeping tonight. That's the feeling, the emotion, that's my job. To take the person sat on the sofa, what does it feel like? This is exactly what it feels like.
Colour it in.
Yeah.
You know, the colour commentator.
And if I had no experience, maybe I would rely on the stats, like some people do. Some commentators.
But if you're not a rider, you have to.
You have to, exactly.
That's why most colour commentators are ex-riders.
Yeah.
Whit, JT, yourself.
I always
prime examples.
And obviously, I'm going to say this. There's sometimes you'll have and it's quite common now. You'll have a commentary duo where the two non-racers, and I think that's strange. I do. I just think you at least need one person there to say, when there's a first corner incident and two non-racers are discussing, well, you can see what's happened. It's like, yeah, but I know what that felt like, and why he's done that is because he's blindsided. He can't see, no peripheral vision. He doesn't see that rider tipping in.
Unusual that both Dawn the World feeds are 4 non-riders. Alex Raby, Steve English, Matt Burt,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Louis Sotheby.
yeah, yeah. And
Just as an observation.
I've got to say, when I listen to Matt and Lewis, they're fantastic commentators, both incredible voices, can call a race very, very well. But I still feel like they're missing.
Because you can't replicate the race that I wouldn't be able to.
That's not me criticising them too, but I genuinely feel like if they got, but then they had Simon, didn't they?
Yeah, Simon would drop in and get, Simon, who was chief steward, is he chief steward? Head of the FIM.
Yeah, he's going to be fantastic. He's taking no shit.
No.
I've had some chats to train me. Simon Crafer's, is his own man, and he will not be told. And if he believes something, if there's some shenanigans going on with Moto3 riders and all that, like, he'll be strict, and which is what it needs.
It's absolutely what it needs.
Basically, what I'm trying to say, he'll be fantastic for that job, because he'll take it very serious, very personal.
It now needs it.
And it does. And luckily, we've escaped not having a horrible accident.
Without question. How often do you look through your fingers when you watch
Moto3? And too many times.
Because you know what it feels like.
You know what it feels like, and you know how quickly it goes wrong, and then before you know it, you've got someone's dead on the track, and we don't want that. Yes, Simon will do a fantastic job.
Knowing you as I do and your character, how difficult was it to watch yourself back in those first years? And were you able to do it and learn?
I had to. What my wife always said, it's like how insecure I am. I'll be like, that was so bad. And she'd go, bear in mind, my wife does not watch bike racing. She's got zero interest. I've always loved that about her. We never talk about bikes. She doesn't watch it. She asks how Jake Dixon gets on, because she's good friends with Sarah.
Yeah.
And she really wants Sam and Alex to do well. Yeah. Obviously, because we've got a great relationship with them, and Vic loves them. So then she'd watch it back and she'd go, well, look, everything looked great. And then she'd go, just watch it when you get back. So I'd painfully watch something that felt horrendous. And what I would feel was like a 2 out of 10, it'd be a 5. And it'd be better. Still crap. But I'd learn. And
on a lower level, that's how I feel about this.
Do you feel like you watch
myself back? I've had to. I've absolutely had to. And I'm more comfortable in front of the cameras, but I don't have designs on anybody's job.
Yeah.
I just want to be the best that I can be at this. I don't want your job. I don't want Steve Day's job. No interest. It's not in my field of vision. I'm 52. I'm not in that circle. Yeah. And I have no designs to be. Don't get me wrong. If somebody picks up the phone and says, Dave, do you fancy doing this?
Then do a bit of commentary. You go, oh yeah, absolutely.
I'll have a crack. But nobody is going to do that. Yeah. Because I'm not in that circle. It's not my remit. This is my level.
It's funny you say that, because I've always said to Susie, for example, we've talked about, we always have a standing joke in the team that I'm going to take Susie's job, and I'm going to present. And it's a joke because I've always said from day one, what's important in life is you've got to know what you're good at. But what's more important is know what you're not good at. And when you're presenting a show at that level, it is so much harder than you think. It's the ultimate, is it a swan, where your legs are flapping underwater, everything looks calm on top. When you've got open talk back, your light's just gone out.
Hey, sorry.
When you've got open talk back and people are talking to you and all that nonsense, that is so difficult. And I've always said the last thing I ever would want to do is present if someone said literally now, you have to present this season or not work, I'm not working. I'm not presenting. That's how hard, because
you look at how Matt Roberts does it, look at how Susie does it, both at the pinnacle.
Flawless.
It looks seamless. But knowing what's going on in their ears with open talkback.
Yeah, Craig Doyle.
Craig Doyle is another one.
Craig Doyle was the funniest, right? Because Craig's knowledge of the sport is nowhere near what Susie's or Matt Roberts is. Obviously, Craig Doyle was into bike racing anyway. Obviously, his main sport's rugby. But he could fluff it somehow. And there were times when he was so hungover, and I'd think, there is no way he's going to pull this off. Bear in mind, I couldn't even spell my name. I was that hanging on. Once or twice this has happened.
Of course.
This is not a common name. And Craig Doyle would stand there and it'd be 35 degrees and I'd see him there like that and I could see the sweat running down his face and I'd be stood next to him and I'm thinking, he hasn't got a clue what he's talking about. But he's pulling it off.
And he's doing it. That's professionalism at its finest. As we carry on, I was chatting to Steve Day last week, and I said we were coming down to see it and everything. He said, ask Hodgie about grid walks and how difficult they were, because they look kind of easy. And in BSB, Whip makes it look dead easy, walks up, tell us about this, and he's got open access. MotoGP, whole different pressure.
Yeah, so it's completely different. I've got to say that James does a great job though, even though he's got open access, but his delivery, everything about it, obviously it's super informative. He's funny because he's James. Everyone loves him. He's got such a good working relationship. So I don't think anyone could do it any better than James on the BSB grid. And he does make it look bloody easy. It is different in MotoGP. Basically, I mean, I've not done a grid walk for 3 years now. We stopped doing them because we just ran out of people to talk to, which sounds pathetic.
This is what Steve was alluding to, because of how different it is.
Yeah, and if you look now, Natalie does interviews on the grid. We throw to her, or Susie will throw to her. Natalie's with Jack Miller. Guess what? Jack Miller talks every weekend. But there is only, I think, Jack Miller talks every weekend. Maverick Vignoles usually talks every weekend. I think that's it. And then you might get one or two others.
You have Brad Binder now and again. Also,
Brad won't talk. Brad never talks.
Not? No, Brad doesn't talk.
Oh, like doesn't talk.
Generally.
Don't get me wrong. Oh no, Brad's lovely. I've got to say, I really like Brad. He's one of the good guys. But he won't talk on the grid. Fair enough, because Brad's is accessible at other points of the weekend. Don't want to talk on the grid. That's fair enough, but it's nearly impossible. And what I hated about doing the grid walk was it was 10 minutes live TV. It's the hardest part of the weekend because it's unscripted and it only works if I can get interviews. And guess what? I couldn't on lots of occasions. So there've been lots of occasions. I always this reminds me of sweating. You're being wherever. I could be anywhere. You're being Brno and it's 35 degrees. And you're there in your shirt and the sweat's running down your back and the director, and we come into you, Neil, in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Cue Neil. And you go, hey, welcome to the grid here. As you can see, and I'd always start with someone. Yeah. And then I'd wander off and you'd pre-plan some stuff, but I got let down so many times. And it felt like walking through treacle a lot of the times. And it was tough. And some were better than others. Some worked really well. Some were terrible, really. But there's not a lot I could do.
No.
I could feel the tarmac, I could point to the crowd, I could point to part of a bike, we could talk to a mechanic, no one's that interested, I could talk to a team manager, but the idea was to be on the grid to talk to the riders. If you look at Formula One, they are all contracted to talk, they have to talk. Weirdly, with Dorna, they've never done that with racing. A lot of it was down to Valentino Rossi, so we were told.
I agree completely.
Valentino would talk throughout the weekend, occasionally, but he would never talk on the grid. So all the VR46 slots have never talked. You can't get them to. But then if you look, Pecco's speaking to Sky Italia every weekend, but he won't speak to us on the grid.
Becomes a norm, doesn't it?
So yeah.
I agree, it should be. I mean, what was it like for you when you were on the grid and somebody come along?
I quite like talking.
The mic? Yeah,
sure.
You were happy for that?
Yeah.
Well, I know we do, but
I quite like talking because I was super nervous anyway.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
And it was a nice distraction.
Yeah.
Guess what? I didn't need to sit on the grid and psych myself up for the race. If you have to try and psych yourself up for the race, you're probably in the wrong job. So I was already well psyched up and ready, but I could easily just, if you'd come up to on the grid and we were talking, like Simsy interviewed me loads on the grid. Yeah. I wouldn't mind it at all, I quite like it. Like I said, it just, a minute or two would go by. Because it feels like a long time sat on the grid. Yeah, and it is a long time.
We did 11 minutes of something like that. It's a long time sat down there. Does it? I know when JT stepped in after Charlie moved on, JT was always quite reticent in the beginning to approach because you could see they're going through their pre-race and he knows, and the same as you do, you know exactly how it feels, but every rider's different. And some are too nervous to speak. They're too busy trying to stop having a pee before they go. Do you have that kind of understanding for them, like, well, I can see what they're doing, but this is my job. I've got to do this.
Yeah, I felt exactly the same, and I could see that with James. And I felt exactly the same. I thought, oh no, I'm that dick. I'm that guy who's annoying them on the grid.
Which is really bad when you and you not question yourself, but when you I'm trying to put this the right way. You understand you the best. And so you're then doubting yourself.
Exactly.
To go, shit, I need to do this, but I know how they feel. And I'm the dick that's going to go, so they're thinking I'm a dick, but I don't want to be that dick. But it's my job to be that dick.
Yeah.
And it's not a dick, but it's just how you feel.
How you feel, yeah. Yeah, it's so different at World Championship racing, in Grand Prix racing. Because there's 6 live TV stations there. It's not just Eurosport at BSB. If you're a British rider and you're on the Superstock grid and Eurosport are there filming, you want them to talk to you because you can show all your sponsors. If you are a French rider, they've got no interest on being on TNT Sport. Or a Spanish rider, no one has. No one has. So it's really tricky to get them to be able to speak to riders on the grids. It's tricky. We're hoping that that's something that will change in the future. We've complained about it for 12 years to Dorna. We really have. So,
what's been over the last 12 years? You've seen riders come through, you've seen riders go, Valentino's gone, you've seen Pecco come through and Jorge Martin last year. And as we sit here now, it was this morning, he had his big high side at Sepang in the test. Yeah. What's been your favourite moment so far?
That's a good question. That's a good question because there've been so many. I've been at every race. I've been on site to every Grand Prix for the last 11 years. And I've seen some incredible stuff. I've been there for the whole Marc Marquez phenomenon. It's just, I've said this before in an interview, and it's so true. I used to say about Marquez, this was literally before the injury. I said, if AI was going to build a motorcycle racer, it's Marc. Everything about him, obviously the aggression, the talent, the reactions, the will to win, the being able to ride in mixed conditions, the flag to flags. If there was a flag to flag, Marc would win it. There were so many things. So to watch the miraculous Marc Marquez all the way through was a pleasure. I've had so much stick on social media. A lot of people don't like Marc. I get it. If you're a Valentino Rossi fan, you blame Marc for 2015. I get all that. And it's okay not to like him. So then I get quite a lot of hate because I mention Marc a lot. Strangely, I mention Marc a lot, the guy who's won, obviously, 9 world titles and been incredible. And is so often the story of the weekend. Think about last year.
On that bike, doing what he did. It was miraculous.
I think he got 21 podiums, maybe 22. He was on the 23 bike. And there were 4 riders on the 23 bike. The other 3 riders between them only got 2 podiums. I mean, it's mental, the difference. Like how much better Marc was than all the other. And one of them was Bezzecchi, who'd finished 3rd in the world. I mean, and then I'll say something like that, and people will be like, why do you talk about Marquez so much? You're like, well, it's fact. Don't really know what to do, really. Qualified 15th and finished 2nd. I don't know.
Which, we spoke to Frankie Carchedi this time last year, and Frankie said, if you start anywhere off the first 2 rows, you will not be on the podium. And then Marc came along.
Yeah,
and he's gone, well, actually, you can.
Frankie's brilliant, isn't he?
Superb.
I work with Frankie.
Absolute class.
At GSA. Yeah, at GSA. So I know Frankie really well, and he's been so good for me because so nice having someone in the paddock in that position as a crew chief to give me information, and you really find out because you hear what's going on, and then he'll give me a bit of information. You're like, wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. It's so good. There's certain things like that he tells me that I definitely can't say.
No,
certain things I can say, but sometimes it's nice to have that knowledge of what's going on. You're like, bloody hell, I did not know that.
It helps you form a bigger picture. I'm fortunate from a lower level, from a BSB point of view, I get told all sorts of things. And most of the time I kind of know what's going on, but I can't share it. And that's just how it is. Yeah. I'm in a fortunate position. How long did it take you to build that little network in MotoGP for something that is the most closed paddock that you can find, but is so essential to your job, just to understand, not even to relay it to people, but to just understand what's going on?
Yeah, I've not got really many people I can rely on. It's that closed off is the answer, which is what you sort of know. It is top secret. It is very, very serious. If you just walk into someone's garage, you get some looks. You can't just wander into the Honda garage or Yamaha garage. I can if I'm holding a microphone. In fact, I'll tell you something that I've done on so many occasions. It might even be on the morning warm-up. I might need to get somewhere, and I'll run back to the TV compound to get a microphone to help me get somewhere. Because if I go in without it, you can get stopped, and it's hassle. Where if you're going with a mic, you look like you're there to do an interview. Or
Nobody's going to stop you, are they? Because that's the whole point. Like looking busy with a clipboard.
If anyone wants to sneak into a race meeting, just turn up with a microphone. I'll tell you another one that I've definitely works. Because I do my media laps.
Yeah.
Whenever I've got my leathers on and a helmet, I don't have a pass with me. And I've been stopped a few times, but I've always gone, I'm just going through. I think if you turn up dressed as a racer, you could walk into Silverstone for free. There you go. Someone needs to try that.
Somebody's got to try it. There's your challenge.
Proper
there's a challenge.
Racer, like water bottle, tear-offs on and all that lot ready. Little entourage, see if you can get in. Because what security thing? You've just crashed out on track.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm just trying to get, you've got to be rushed.
Yeah,
angry.
Yeah.
There you go.
What a great shout.
Someone's got to try it.
Hodgie, please let somebody try.
That'd be cool. I'd love to know if that worked.
Let us know. That's your challenge for this year. If you can do that on MotoGP.
I apologise for people at Silverstone. I'm trying to encourage people.
Now, what you're trying to do is encourage the attendance to go up.
Yeah. We won't talk about that. Yeah, it was painful this year. Hopefully this year will be better.
I'm hoping so. But that leads me on to another question. Where's our next MotoGP race winner coming from? As a Brit.
We've got quite a while, haven't we?
5-6 seasons, potentially.
Yeah, it's the knock-on effect. Obviously, the whole Spanish structure is it's such a well-oiled machine, and it's been going on for 4 years, and it's producing all these talented riders. Obviously, Valentino used his academy, and it's produced so many riders. We are so far behind. We are trying, things are in place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we have got some really talented kids now, around about 16, 17 years old. I'm looking and thinking, wow, there are some riders that are looking quite fast. But for them to be MotoGP is a while, isn't it? It's a journey.
Yeah. That's the bit that concerns me. It's not, I think it's fair to say Jake won't be there.
Yeah.
It's fair to say that he's 29 now, isn't he? Nearly 30. Moto 2 is going to be his pinnacle.
Yeah. Well, maybe not. Maybe World Superbike.
No, is it from a Grand Prix point of view? Sorry. Yeah, I suspect he'll go to. Now he's in the Mark VDS.
You would assume he's in a really good position.
He's in a really good position to make that jump and feel on it.
If he has a strong year, which I'm sure he will do, and then in a position to maybe jump onto a Ducati in World Superbike.
100%.
And then have a 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Hopefully for him, then that will be. It's almost like it pays the interest of all the hard work you've done in Moto 2. All of a sudden, you get the benefits from it.
Just while we're talking about Jay, we'll go back to the other question shortly. Tell me about that Silverstone interview.
The one where that was it was
because what's it like from your side?
Yeah, it was
got
messy.
The job to do.
Yeah, it was messy. I interviewed Jake after he crashed out of the British Grand Prix, and he was having in a really strong period of his career and trying to get into MotoGP. It happened it was just a mess. Unfortunately, it's quite a long story. I'll make it as quick as possible. Basically, Susie was ill that weekend, and so Natalie was doing her job. So basically, the race started. I was eating my lunch, and my boss popped his head in and said, "Jake's has crashed." I'd seen it, and he said, "Can you get a word from him?" And I'm just like, I could do without having to do that. Really, that's how you feel. But it's then obviously, well, no, I'm filling in. That's my job, and that's our team work. So I scurried on over there. Obviously, he wasn't very happy. I could see he wasn't happy. I know what that feels like. I waited for him to calm down. And then as he was leaving the back of the garage, I said, "Is there any chance of a quick word?" And he said, "Yeah." And then obviously he spoke with emotion, which you would expect him to.
Absolutely.
And he got quite a bit of stick for what he said. But it was in the heat of the moment.
That's why I was interested from your side. I didn't get from his point of view.
Honest, I didn't feel comfortable.
No.
Asking the question, but then it's back to, well, this is my job. And also, obviously, I said, "Jake, it's all right to have a quick word." If he'd have said, "No, I'm pissed off," obviously, I'm never going to force it. I've always got on well with Jake, so it was just one of those.
Well, that's the point where you ask the question, and if they say no, you go, "Well, sorry, folks, we tried." Understandably, emotions are running high.
Yeah.
We will catch up with him later. Back to the commentary.
Exactly, and it wasn't live actually, so it wasn't even. It was. Even,
no, it wasn't. It was recorded.
It was a recording.
Yeah, it was.
So it's even easier. Where if he says no, I just just go, no, you don't want to speak. Or,
Yeah.
So, but then, yeah, it was just a bit messy because then Jake come out of it not looking great. I probably didn't come out of it looking good for asking him the question.
But it's a job.
But it's a job, and I just
Yeah.
said, Jake, obviously we said what's happened, how are you feeling?
That was just the important question, just because everybody's seeing it from Jake's side, and I've not had a chance. I've never sat down with Jake to talk to him about it, but from holding the microphone together at the most critical moment, probably a turning point of a career almost. You've got to ask the difficult questions.
Yeah. If I could do it all again, I'd somehow try and get out of doing that. Really, that's one of them.
Spill ketchup.
Yeah, just one of them.
I've got to change my shirt, and
that could have been a white line. I could have just said, "Oh, no, we don't want to speak."
you need to get a slightly smaller one, whereas Dave needs a bigger one. I'm fucking conscious of my belly as it is, right? You punking
You've got a belly. You've not got a belly.
Well, no, he says that now.
Don't get sensitive.
I do. So yeah, the British world champion.
Yeah, we've got a list, haven't we?
It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. There's no obvious rider at the moment where you go, well, look, he's already like, let's think of Scott Ogden, for example. He's had 3 years in Moto3. You'd have to sit here, and I'm not being horrible. I don't think Scott Ogden's going to be in MotoGP. So who else have we got?
Eddie O'Shea.
Eddie O'Shea.
Eddie's still young. It's his first full season
for him this year. A lot to learn. There's no point even commenting on him, and I don't think that disrespectful.
No, because he's only done 3 or 4 rounds, hasn't he? And he fractured his wrist at one of them.
Exactly. So
he's got a lot to learn.
Let's see how he gets on. We've got young talents like Casey O'Gorman and people like that coming through. Let's see when they get into the Moto3 paddock before you can comment. But there is talent out there. Definitely.
There is, but it's going to be 5 years, isn't it, for anybody? 2 in Moto3. I don't think we're going to produce anybody of a Pedro Acosta because we don't have that infrastructure on prototype bikes.
All I think is we just need a bit of luck, don't we? Yeah. We just need a freaky sort of Pedro Acosta. And there might be someone out there. I follow some young kids and I don't even know the names on Instagram. That sounds well wrong. that race. Because I'm always looking for the next talent to think if I could help a rider. I mean, I've loved managing Alex Lowes. I've managed Alex since he won the British Superbike Championship in 2013. God, we've had a roller coaster ride. Do you know what? I've been so lucky with, I think part of me not missing racing, or part of what's helped me along the journey of life after racing is managing Alex, because it's kept me really involved in the racing, like super involved. I'm obviously really attached to everything that happens with Alex, and the emotional roller coaster. I've been in tears in my lounge watching him, and I've been in tears almost with frustration, because I'm on the bike with the rider you manage. And do you know what I have to say about Alex? And I don't know people who like him or don't like him. I mean, I don't know many people that don't like Alex. He's a good kid, but I do not know any rider more committed. And sometimes, because I see myself in him so much, we are so similar. And that's to his detriment at times. And we've had this chat, because he is...
No days off.
Oh my God, there is... Sam's committed. Alex is another level. But that's why I've managed him from day one and loved it, because I've been approached off so many riders to manage them. And I always ask myself this question: do I believe in that person? Do I think that person can achieve it? And if the answer is no, I don't want to manage him. And that sounds awful, but I just...
Well, you're not doing it for the sake of it, are you? And having...
I'm not doing it to make money. I'm not going to take money off a young family. Oh yeah, no problem, I'll do this. No, not at all.
Completely the wrong way
for me to dedicate some time to someone is because I believe that they can do it, when with my help I can help them do it.
But you've also still got a full-time job.
Yeah,
and this goes back to Rog with you and with JT. He picked his riders because he was still building his own business.
Absolutely.
So you still got the full-time job. You're away 21 weekends a year with TNT.
Yeah, 22.
22
now. Yeah, 22. Yeah. I mean, 22 rounds is too many, innit? It should be 15, I think. What's BSB? 12?
11.
Yeah, 11. That's not enough.
That's not enough.
Really.
It doesn't start till beginning of...
Well, Superbikes, what's that?
12.
Yeah, that's not enough. I think 15 is a great number, but...
I think that's about right, isn't it?
Managing riders is...
But he's always had a factory ride as well.
Who? Alex, it's got a good manager.
That's what I mean. But that's the whole point, though, isn't it? Because you know how important that is.
Let me tell you this, though, right? Alex has always had a factory ride. Think about this. Alex has really only been in 2 teams. We've been with Crescent, who obviously with Suzuki, sort of semi-factory bike, factory Yamaha through Crescent, and then we got involved with Kawasaki. And the reason for that is they see what I'm saying. They see a rider that can't give any more. He is 100% at everything. But when it comes to PR, when it comes to all those days, that obviously you don't see on that side of racing, there's no one better than Alex. He always turns up wherever it is. He's really good with people.
The dealer days, things like that, the corporate days.
Yeah. So,
and that's the thing. You can't convince a team to take a rider that they don't believe in. It doesn't matter how hard you work or how hard they work, they have to see what you see. And once you have that, that makes the job a little bit easier.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with Alex, I think the teams he's ridden for, they can see his talent level so high and that they always feel like if he could just improve that a little bit, which last year he finished 4th in the world. Yeah. He got beat by Toprak, who's obviously just a freak. I mean, I've been in this industry. Apart from Marc Marquez, Toprak's the 2nd best rider I've seen recently, in the last 15 years. Like, really, like, it's that good. So Alex got beat by a Toprak, obviously on the BMW, and then 2 factory Ducatis. He didn't do bad, did he?
Not bad at all in
the world. So
when you look at that.
So, but yeah, his commitment's just outstanding. So
I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do on the Bimota this year.
Yeah. It's going to be because there's been all the any testing, and the bike is very different. Yeah. Obviously, it's the Kawasaki engine, but everything else is completely different. So
a lot to learn.
They're in the deep end. I think it's going to be a step in the right direction, but it's not going to be enough, in my opinion. I know it sounds negative for you now to be able to battle with that BMW top speed wise. But no,
and it's got Toprak on it as well.
That's what I mean.
So in terms of your commentary side of things and presenting side, what's been the biggest stomach churner for you on a personal way? Either you've said something.
Stomach churner. Oh, that's a good question. Let me just say.
Whether it's I'll give you a bit of time. Whether you're in commentary or whether it's a live broadcast, and you've said something, and you've suddenly got that knot. And you've got, oh no, why did I say that? And then I feel that you've got to then catch yourself up because then you're distracted. It's a weird, you have great commentary, man, which are great in front of you when you make an opinion or you make a call and it comes true. But there gets a time when you see the negative side of things. And not a negative side, I don't mean anything bad happening in the circuit. I mean, as you're talking and you suddenly go, shit, why did I say that?
I tell you, that happens literally every day. I'll say something and think, probably shouldn't have said that. In 2015 at the last round, when Marquez didn't pass Lorenzo, and then right at the end of the program, it was the end of checkered flag or something like that, I was asked about it and I just said what I believed. But I didn't know that was the end of the show. And it was almost like I had the last word and I said something like really strong, going, well, he just didn't try and pass him, did he? There's no point in lying about it. And it was like a massive comment that needed to be discussed. And it was like, well, it was Craig, I think. It's like, well, we're running out of time here, so thanks, and we'll see you all next year. And then that got a lot of traction on social media. Some people agreed with me. Some people thought I was a complete dick. But that's social media in general, isn't it? And also around the Rossi kick, obviously, did he kick him? Who knows? You know, all that. That is such a boring subject, but it was such a massive thing that happened in our sport. The biggest thing that's ever happened in our sport.
The most divisive thing ever.
The biggest thing. I couldn't believe it. I felt sick that day. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I had to report on it all. I had a strong opinion because I couldn't believe what I'd seen. It was all like, I couldn't really, because Valentino was my hero. Is my hero. Because I say to a lot of people, I'll be at the bike show on my insurance stand and I'll get someone and literally...
What insurance stand, mate? Give them a plug.
Mackenzie HODGSON Insurance, if you want a really competitive price. It's been going all right, actually. We've been doing it for 8 years now.
It's been going on all right, hasn't it?
Yeah. But I'll still like, this year I'll be at the NEC and somebody will go, never liked you since... maybe it's not the best introduction.
It's not the greatest opening,
never liked you. And I went to someone... And generally that's what, you know, you can picture it happening. And obviously now I suffer no fools and all that. Let's ignore them. I just go, right, let's go and talk to someone else then, mate. I've got no interest in talking to you. Who are you anyway? Like, because people always think you're going to be polite.
No.
I'm not anymore. So, but yeah, never liked you since what you said about Valentino in 2015. He did nothing wrong. I think the stewards sort of saw it different. You know, I don't know. The apex was back there. That was over there.
Postcode.
But it's all right. But, oh, sorry. I say to a lot of people, I'm going to shock you what I'm going to say, right? You can be a Marc Marquez fan and Valentino Rossi. It's okay. Don't mean you don't like Valentino if you admire what Marc's doing. You can like both.
Motorcycle racing.
So
the tribal thing is the biggest thing that's changed over the years for me. And you'll have seen that from pit lane and the booing and all that kind of stuff.
This year in Misano when Marquez won, oh my God, we were finishing our program. I was with Susie and Sylvan, and you could not hear anything because the track invasion and Mark could, and he was in the retro gear. I've forgotten his name. Grissini.
Fausto Grissini.
Fausto's leathers. It was a beautiful moment. Italian team. He's just won. The respect for
Nadia's down there. Everybody's.
Do you know what I mean? They're in tears.
Yeah.
And everyone's booing. It was horrible.
That's disrespectful to Grissini's name.
100%. It made me so angry. Oh, I hate it. Because it's like, hey, come on. Bit better than that. Come on. We're not booing.
Do you realise what those lads out there are doing?
Yeah.
It's not football. It's not, you know.
Yeah, that was the race.
They're risking lives.
It started to drizzle as well, and it was like they're going through that Crevone. It's only about, you tip in at over 200 miles an hour, it's raining. You know what I mean? Like, let's boo the rider who's won.
But we finish off on that and we get onto the Patreon side of things. I know you're away shortly. The laps on the BM.
Yeah.
How much do you enjoy those? Because they look such good fun.
Oh my God.
But you have such a short...
Yeah.
You have like an out lap, a flyer and an in.
Exactly. Yeah. It's fun. I've had some sketchy moments. It's weird sometimes. Because like I won't ride a bike and I'm there all weekend. I won't ride the last time I rode a bike on tarmac was my last lap in it was Barcelona. I was going to say Valencia, but it was Barcelona, wasn't it, the last round? So I don't ride. Yeah. So imagine I don't ride, and then I put my leathers on, go and stand in pit lane, bike set, take the tyre warmers off, I go down pit lane, and literally, and I get out of pit lane, and I go, bah, 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 on this M1000 ridiculous 200 and something brake horsepower rocket ship. I love it. Gives me full of adrenaline. So I do that one lap, and as I come out the last corner, I go, and like the helmet's pushing against my face. There we are, Barcelona, down the street, and I'm going towards turn one. I've rough idea where to brake, and you're like that. And sometimes it's road shift, sometimes it's race shift. I'll never tell you. It always changes, honestly. So, oh my God, the disasters I've had. And I'm always missing apexes, which is funny, I've got to say.
So there's so many camera angles.
And some of the camera angles look like I have to say this, right? I'm going to say it, and I know I'm going to get some shit for it. But the problem is, right, think what I'm going to say. All weekend, everything you see on TV is the best riders in the world, the fastest on boards, the absolute fastest. And then they flick to a guy riding a road bike round, doing his very first lap. And people go, you look slow. I go, fucking didn't feel it. It did not feel it. Like, dude, I'm still doing 180 mile an hour. I'm not riding, I promise you, I'm not riding slow. But of course it looks slow.
Of course it does.
Because you're looking at, they've got 60 degrees lane angle and I'm on a road bike riding round. What? The number of times I've had people go, oh, bloody hell, you're steady at them. I'm like, honestly, mate, you wouldn't believe how fast I'm actually going. And I am sliding. I'm sliding on one lap. The tyres are moving and...
No apexes were harmed in the making of this segment.
Well, not even the slightly threatened.
Have you ever gone into, like, at the end of a long straight, have you ever...
Brake too late?
No, I was going to say too early.
Oh, loads of times.
And then all of a sudden you're talking your way into it and you're not even there yet.
Loads of times. So we are down into turn through, and I got out on the brakes, and my inner voice is going, way too early. and I'm like, really bumpy, I'm doing that with a brake to get nearer the corner. Really, really bumpy around it. Feel the wind buffeting me. I'm like, shit. I tell you, the worst track for it is America. It's got a really long straight down to that really tight hairpin. It's over a crest, and I must have braked 100 yards too early. I'm like, oh God, how embarrassing. The worst is, though, I've done it in America as well, where I brake too late. And you've gone like that, and I've gone, and I'm talking. If you ever hear me go silent on a lap, you know I'm in trouble. Because then I'm like, oh, because I'm like, shit, I'm in too deep here. And I blow the corner. Luckily there's loads of tarmac, so you can run wide, but yeah.
But you only get one lap at it, don't you? You can't say,
lap.
Can I do another one?
No.
No, you are because Simon does his and...
Yeah, I say to so many people, because it is a conversation I've had with lots of people, let's say you do it then. You go out, do one flying lap, having not ridden, like if you just turned up at a track day, just go out the pits and then that next lap go as fast as you can and talk and after throw to. Let's not forget what happened here last year at turn 7.
Of course,
and then, So I have to tee them up. I've got 3 of them in my mind. I don't know if I'm going down for up for down. I'm trying to go fast. I mean, so
Trying to see the apex.
some knob goes, yeah, you look to be steady. Go out to be steady. Have a crack yourself. Have a crack like yourself. Oh my God, last year was so embarrassing, so many embarrassing moments. Right, last year we had to do a thing for one of the bosses of TNT. It was his birthday. So I had to come out the last corner and do a wheelie at the end of my lap. Well, sometimes wheelie control's on. So I come out and all our team are there with a pit board, and it was all planned. Anyway, it was all planned, and I come out and the wheelie control kicks in, and I go, no wheelie, and as I go past him, and the front wheel's this high. Anyway,
Pulling this hard.
pulling. Anyway, if ever you see a rider pull on the bike, you know they can't wheelie a bike. So it's all about timing and standing the engine. I'm like that. So plenty of embarrassing moments.
While I pull up the Patreon questions, tell me your best, as we said earlier on, tell me your best James Hayden story.
James Hayden.
Because he was so complimentary about you growing up and the rivalry and the friendship that you had.
So
now it's time
we
for
were
you.
so different, right? So working class lad from Burnley, doctor's son from Amersham. Like we shouldn't have got on, really.
No.
We grew up in
yin and yang, isn't it?
Yeah, we grew up in different worlds, and we've always been close. We were fierce competitors. We were very similar with speed. I had much more luck than James in my career, and I'm not being modest. I'm not going, I had a lot of luck. I had a lot better opportunities, but I had the right people around me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not blaming his dad or his mum or anything like that.
Situations.
I made the most of my opportunities, but.
I'm signaling you on it.
So, do you need the Wi-Fi code?
You keep talking, it might drop in at some point.
So we were always really close. But my funniest story, I think it is, about James, and there's so many stories I can't say, but you always ask about hire cars.
That's coming later.
And I haven't really got like a one-off one. I haven't, because I thought about it, and I thought, well, there's been so many questions.
For this one then.
Yeah, so James had said, why don't you come down to Amersham? Why don't you come down? I'd just passed my test, so I'm 17, got a Fiat Uno, £300 car. It's a shitter, obviously. So I get my MacBook out and I set off down to Amersham. Bloody hell, it's a long way.
It's near France, isn't it, for
Yeah,
us?
it took hours from Burnley. I don't know, I must have gone the wrong way. Probably took about 5 hours. Anyway, I eventually get there and I go down this leafy road, big houses. Like, fair play, like, lovely. Pull onto a gravel drive. Big house, lovely. And I've always liked Dave and Bev, James's mum and dad. Great people, his sisters, great, just like James, great people. They're like family. They're so chuffed I've come down. Anyway, James is in a rush. He's always in a rush. This is James. He goes, right, throw your bags in the house. We're going straight out. So, like, next thing, his mate turns up in some sporty looking car. And like literally, I've just driven 5 hours. I just wanted a drink or something. So we're going to a politics. It's James. Everything's a party. It still is. So we jump in this car and like, I can't think if it was Dave. I met loads of his mates. Who is still, someone who's good because they're still good friends with their mates from school. Yeah. So anyway, Neil, So get in the back seat, all excited, like, I'm down in Amersham, like down south. They couldn't understand a word I was saying, but anyway, so we set off, and he sets off, and I've always driven fast. I've always been a fast driver. I'm not now, I'm steady now, but I used to be a Lynn, of course, showing off. Anyway, this lad is flat out, and I mean flat out, and I'm like, whew, sketchy. Anyway, we end up on this single track road, And I've been in the car 5 minutes. Coming up to like this humpback bridge, and I'm like, and James is going, go on! And I'm like, anyway, we just take off, and I promise I am not exaggerating. As we take off like that, it's like a single track. There's a car coming the other way. And we're like sort of like mid-air, land, hit the banking, smack straight into the car, I'm through like we've had this massive crash, massive. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Don't know if it was James had cut his head or the driver had cut his head. We all get out, I'm shaking. The 2 seats had pushed forward, all completely bent. And this guy's going, I don't know, the guy is driving on his own, he's going, what happened then? Now bear in mind, it's about 6 p.m. It was really strange. And all I can think afterwards is, he must have been drunk. Because the guy was going, what really happened? I don't really know how that happened. I'm like, well, we've obviously just come over there like idiots and hit your head on. So they managed to move our car to the side, and this is the bit of the story that blew my mind. Like, if that was me with my Fiat Uno, the day's done. I am destroyed. I'm gutted. They just dragged the car to the side, got another mate to come and pick us up, and we just carried on to the party like nothing had happened. I'll never forget. It was just one of those. And I remember thinking, by gum, how different it is up north. Because like I had nothing, and it was like these were slightly wealthier.
Yeah.
And James, what I'm saying that,
Of course not.
bear in mind, James Hayden right now is one of the hardest workers I know, and it built a really good empire.
Yeah.
And all through graft. That's why I respect anyone who does like what James does. And some of the properties he's developed, he sent some through the other day, showed me some stuff. It's incredible. Talk about high end.
Oh, it is.
He's got such a talent, such an eye for stuff. And maxed with being a grafter, that's why he's been successful. But
It's great to see it.
so yeah, that's my. And yeah, that was that. Next thing, I'm at this party, just surrounded by the coolest people ever. And we've been friends ever since.
Superb. Right, final thing. Questions from our patrons. Link is in the description below. If you want to join the patron scheme that we have, the guys and girls help us out every month to enable us to do this, to come down and see Hodgie. First one up, Maggie Day. How do you think commentating has changed over the years, and is it for the better?
Oh, quite a good question, that. I don't think it has changed that much. I think you have to be very careful what you say, because of the world we live in.
2025.
Yeah. So you do have to be careful. There's sometimes because I would see something that would be funny, and then have to stop myself and think, it's 2025. But I could have said that 10 years ago and it would have been very funny and people would have loved it. And I could probably say it now and people would still love it. But one person might not. And then what happens is, there's a complaint. If it goes to Ofcom, then we have to have a meeting about it. I've been in a few meetings.
Compliance meetings.
Yeah,
and things
I've been
like
in a
that.
few meetings.
Yeah.
Nothing major.
No, but it just serves as reminders, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it is a different world now.
I'll
as much as I keep saying that, it is. It's just.
I'll give you a really light-hearted example of one. The first time I went to Indonesia, the track flooded because it rained, and we'd been told before the weekend started that the track had employed a rain shaman to keep the rain away. And we all laughed about it and thought, well, that's a novel thing, quite cute. We all love being there on Lombok, it's fantastic. Anyway, obviously, it rains, the track floods, there's a massive delay. We're filling at that point, so basically you're just talking over what world feed pictures, and the next thing we see the rain shaman in there, and me being me, went, wow, fair play to her. You've got to respect her. I said, she's still going to be trying to put an invoice in at the end of the year. I said, one job, keep the rain away. The track's flooded, but she's still out there. It's too late, love. You know, and I thought it was funny and all that lot. That didn't go down well because that was disrespectful to local culture. It wasn't at all.
No, it
was me
wasn't.
being funny, saying she got one job and she's failed at her job. It's not, but fair play, she's still out there. So the funny thing was, I said that, and then Susie ended up in trouble with it. Susie laughs about it. She went, how did it? She ended up getting the email going, hang on.
How does that even?
I was like,
It's ridiculous.
So, yeah.
Ridiculous these days. And she also asked, would you one day like to commentate on BSB?
love to, absolutely love to, yeah. All action, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the last.
Ah, I can't even. That
Proper.
well, the Tommy Hill and Hopper one was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I've got to say that one was, well, it was as good, and I didn't think that was possible. I don't know if it was better, but it was just that. I just love watching, when you watch riders ride the shit out of a motorcycle. There was nothing left there from both riders. It was phenomenal. They should have been so proud of themselves. I'm sure they both were, but wow, what a race.
The only thing had to be one winner, wasn't there?
Yeah, which is cruel in that. But what I'm so
Both
glad is
sides.
no one went down.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to see that last lap and then see one that's a
to
big
finish.
one. You want it to be fair. But I've got to say, when Kyle tipped into the last corner, his back wheel kicked, and at that point, normally it overloads the front, and all that went as he tipped in the back did that. I just thought, oh, he's down, and he wasn't.
It is, because a little kicker, isn't there? Where you join the
Exactly.
the roundabout, call it roundabout, the Indy circuit.
Yeah.
From our great friend Craig Lowe, how does the scrutiny of being a commentator compare to the scrutiny you used to get as a rider?
It's much easier. Yeah, it's much easier because I'm paid to have an opinion. My opinion's my opinion. So in a way, you can't be wrong. It's like, don't get me wrong.
How you feel.
So in my opinion, he should have done that. So it's quite easy. Yeah, to be honest, doing my job compared to when you're a racer, your results obviously it's black and white. Have you had a good day? Have you had a bad day? So I don't have many bad days. I'll tell you when I have a bad day is when we've had a good weekend, we built it up, it looks like it's going to be close, and it's a crap race. And that happens quite a lot in MotoGP now.
It has,
especially with the
last
wide
year,
bikes,
it was difficult.
the wings. There's some boring races, no point in lying. Me and Gav, literally, sometimes it'd be lap 2 or 3, and I look at him and Gav's great at, and we sometimes try to tell the story of what might happen. Probably won't, but we could say,
filling airtime, isn't it?
And that's what we do, yeah.
Another question, we spoke about best and worst commentating moments. Who's Neil's tip for the next rider from the lower classes to make it to MotoGP? Not necessarily British, just the next one coming through.
Well, David Alonso obviously was ridiculously outstanding this year, last year.
Kid.
Yeah, and the lovely kid. Obviously, you interviewed him, didn't you? So
Great kid.
you got to see what it was like. So yeah, he looks like the next big thing. And who else that really impressed me? No, it's just him really, I'd say.
He is the baby goat, isn't he? He's the one.
Angel Piqueras was impressive last year.
is impressive.
In his rookie season.
He's a good
And I
rider.
watched him through the Red Bull rookies. He was very aggressive. So
But he's going to usurp the likes of Rueda and people like that who went before him.
Exactly.
And he's going to be the next one. But Pedro, how amazing. When we talk about MotoGP, what a shining light.
Pedro Acosta.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, unreal. Yeah. Yeah. When I was flat tracking at Alcaraz about a month ago with Sam and Alex Lowe's, and he came along. Sam and Alex had booked this track, and it's one of the better tracks. And because Pedro was going to Ross's ranch that week, he wanted to just check the bike out. And then he got in touch with, I don't know if it was Sam or Alex he called to see if he could come along and ride because it was booked by them. It's like, imagine getting a call from Pedro, can I come and ride with you guys? You're like, yeah. And he turned up with Denny Pedrosa.
Super. But he's quite humble like that, isn't he?
Like completely normal.
And the way
Completely normal. There, dressed scruffy, got his bike out, chatting, completely normal.
when he asked it was on one of the interviews or one of the reels, like, what would you be if you weren't in MotoGP? Homeless.
Is that what he said?
Because they're a basic family, aren't they? He's not from stock. They are from
working class family.
working class family, same as you said. It's just that way.
I wouldn't have been homeless though.
No. He does make me laugh. I think he's brilliant. His whole outlook is just outstanding. Mick Strickland, what's the best memories from starting out in bike racing? Did you know at school that's what you wanted to do?
Best memories are being a kid, packing up on a Friday night, going motocrossing with the van and caravan with my brother. My brother raced, and my mum and dad, and turning up on a Friday evening somewhere, wherever it was. It might have been in Ormskirk, and you'd park up and you'd get your BMXs out and you'd go with all the lads you race with that were your age, and racing was fun, 100% fun. Oh my God, that was the best memories. Like I said, we never went on a holiday.
No.
But we went on holiday every weekend because we weren't racing somewhere, and I got friends all over the country. So
Every weekend was a weekend away.
yeah.
And he also asked, there's a little bit of East Lancashire jingoism here. How have we managed to produce two amazing motorcycle legends, you and Foggy, from our little area in the Northwest? It can't be coincidence, can it? Because Mick lives in Barlick.
Does he?
Yes.
Good old Barlick. Oh, I've got some friends in Barlick. I've done some drinking in Barlick over the years. My God, I've been leathered there. Down on Green Street. My God. I don't know if that's still there. It's like a working men's club. Yeah, and what people won't know is there's a place called Oswald, which obviously you know, but a lot of people won't know, which is almost in between Burnley and Blackburn. And that's where Jamie Hacking, the American, was from. His parents were English. He was born in England. He was born in Oswald.
Never knew that.
Quick. He was fast.
Never knew that.
Like, he won the American Championship lots of times. When I met him, when I lived out there for the first time, and he said, yeah, I lived in Oswald. I'm like, you what?
Incredible.
This like random place on the outskirts.
Darren Barton, was it?
Yeah,
Darwin,
Darren from Darwin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to race motocross with Darren. I'm a good friend with Darren.
Minty, Mick Lofthouse, was that neck of the woods as well? He was from Aki as well.
God rest his soul.
Yeah. John I see on Facebook now and again, and Max is racing and doing paragliding off Pendle Hill and things like that.
Good part of the world, isn't it?
It is.
Lancashire.
It absolutely is.
People said, why were riders fast from around there? And I went, well, there was no plan B. It was like, yeah, you have to be fast on the bike, or plan B didn't look good. Let me tell you.
Steph Curd. What actually happened with Anthony Gobert and your crash helmet?
This is another one. There's certain questions I get asked. So Anthony Gobert did not wear my helmet. Kurt McCarthy did, which people don't know. What had happened, we're in Brno, obviously World Superbikes. He crashed in the second race on lap 1 and got on the piss. God rest his soul.
Bless him, yeah.
It's what Anthony was a strange character because a lot of people won't know this about him. Obviously, the Go Show is incredible. He was a massive introvert, real introvert, super shy, wouldn't talk to many people, not very comfortable, sober. Obviously needed to drink and that's, obviously a lot of it was his upbringing.
Yes.
And obviously he didn't have a good relationship with alcohol. Anyway, so he crashed, got absolutely obliterated, straight away just went drinking. Back then it was a lot more social. All the motorhomes were parked together and I was parked next to him and my helmet was drying out in the sun and he was pissed and Kurt McCarthy was riding, I think 600, so he was pissed. And they nicked my helmet, he pissed in it and then like slid it back. And then I came out, me and Gobert had an hour and slight fight, a pushing fight. It was pathetic. So that's basically what happened. But the truth was, I did find out for a lot of years later that it was Kurt McCarthy, who I got on really well with. I didn't not get on with Gobert, but he just, not many people had a relationship with him.
A bit like John Kaczynski, he didn't make it easy to. He was his own man, did his own thing, and he had his own demons to deal with.
Exactly, yeah, totally different characters, but yeah.
Yes, same
both
principle.
very, yeah, exactly. I don't think a lot of people had a good relationship
No.
with Goey, but the social side of Anthony, I once saw him we're out in Monza after a race, everyone had a load of beers. I can't remember who'd had a barbecue. Everyone was drunk. And then someone said, where's Goey? And they went, he's going to get his motorhome, we're going to drive into Milan. He's going to take us all to a nightclub. And he just got in his motorhome, it's the funniest thing, and just set off. It was all plugged in, all the drains were plugged in, electricity just set off.
I'm going and that's it.
Just can't make it up, just like.
Yeah. Superb.
Can't believe what happened there with him. You just can't believe it, can you?
Just the mentality
Does
to
that
get
seem
and do
real?
it. Yeah.
That's just so sad, so sad.
And then when you look back to where he ended up, you think there were signs.
Yeah.
But we didn't know, did we?
No.
We're far more aware these days, as we said earlier. Simon Breeze, who helped you most in your career in order to progress?
100%, first and foremost, my dad. Like massively. My dad's just unbelievable, like the drive, and you realise it more obviously as you get older.
Yeah.
But he had a full-time job. He was the managing director of a small firm in Burnley that employed about 10 people. And he managed to hold that job down, running this business, as well as taking me to every Grand Prix. He ran the team. So obviously Roger Burnett was incredibly influential, incredibly. But my mum and dad, that was the core of it all. And right up to even when I raced in America, so right at the end of my career, when I was struggling, I'd ask my dad to come out because I needed him there. I needed him to be at the side of the track watching, and we'd just chat afterwards, at night. And that made the difference because I trusted him. Everything he said was correct.
He never steered you wrong, did he?
Yeah, everything, and what he could see, if he said I look good and relaxed, or the bike looks like it's doing this, he was right, because there were no ulterior motive. He would never lie to me. He would never go, "You're great, bike shit, tell the team the shit." It weren't that. He'd tell me if I was shit.
I've seen that as well.
Yeah, that doesn't help anyone, does it?
I've always been a big fan of, you take all the hurdles out of the way, and listeners and viewers have seen this before, have heard this from me and seen this from me before. All you're left with is a mirror.
Oh my God.
And that mirror does not lie.
Oh my God.
That's the last point. That's your last hurdle, is the thing looking at you.
That's what Colin Wright taught me the most at the end. That was the one. Have a good look in that mirror, because that's your problems. The problems are looking right at you. You have to sort that out. And I say it now with some of the younger riders. I know some of the younger riders that are really bad at blaming everything and deflecting. And it's like, if it gets to a point where you've got to walk into the bathroom and have a glance, and that's the biggest issue.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. From our friend Tom, what do you say to the fans who critique you for commenting about how good Mark Marquez is? I don't do that. I never look at these before we come on. So it's a nice surprise to me for some of them. So we've covered that one quite nicely.
Yeah, and but I quite like it. If someone comes up and says it to me, I quite like it. And they go, "What do you mean? The guy who's, won 9 world titles, the guy who just come from 30, what, you criticise me because I talk about him? Sorry, I will. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that feedback."
Youngest ever top-class world champion. What do you want?
Is that the guy who won his MotoGP season championship in his first year? It's not, is it? That's not the rider who won his second ever MotoGP race. It's not, is it?
No, can't be. No, can't. Not him. No, not against all the people that he'd raced against. Definitely.
Yeah, but you're a fan of his. Yeah,
absolutely. We're fans of racing, so why would you not be?
Well, like we were saying off air, I'm a massive Michael Dunlop fan.
Yeah,
I was a massive fan.
100%.
I'm not ashamed to say that. I am a fan. I'm nervous in certain people's company. It makes me nervous.
Auras.
Yeah, it's that
Michael's got an aura.
Yeah, massively.
I agree completely.
And I've got to say, when I've been in his company, he's always been fantastic. He's never been arrogant, disrespectful, because obviously I'm a circuit racer or a sunglasses wearer or whatever. He's always been super nice.
He's great. Such a good guy. Such a good guy. Chris Turner, what was it like being Foggy's teammate, and what did you learn from him?
Oh my God, it was tough being his teammate because he was so fast and he demanded a lot of attention. So you soon realised you were a clear number 2 in the team. And for a young, relatively inexperienced rider, I found it hard to deal with. Carl he wasn't an arsehole with me at all. He weren't bad with me. He wasn't. He wasn't great, and nor should he have been, because he was busy in his prime at that period, dealing with the pressures that come with being Carl Fogarty and trying to win. But what I learned a lot from him. What I learned from Carl, where Carl was incredible was, and why he was 4-time world champion and probably one of the best world superbike riders of all time, is he could get the most out of a bad package. So on weekends, obviously I was on the same bike, same tyres. So on weekends where he was struggling and I was struggling, and he'd qualify 7th, I'd qualify 4th, and the race would finish, and I'd finish 5th, shock. It's another 5th, great 5th. And I'd genuinely come in, and I'd go, "You what?" And they go, "Foggy." And I go, "You what?" Because I knew what he was riding.
Yeah.
I'm on the same bike, and I'm like, "But he qualified 7th. The bike's rubbish round here. We won't turn or whatever."
Yeah.
So
you did.
But I learned. I learned. I couldn't do it straight away, but I learned later on in my career, and then I understood. Oh yeah, that's what Carl was.
And he was in a difficult time as well, wasn't he? Because he'd just come back from Honda at that point, so he had a massive point to prove.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fast young teammate coming in, another Brit.
Yeah.
There's so much going on that season.
Yeah.
And he had a world championship to win.
Yeah. Did he win it that year? I can't remember if he won it as well. Did he? Yeah.
97, 98, and then he had his crash in 99.
Yeah.
We've covered this one anyway, but he asked it, how big a stroke pivotal was the World Superbike win in 2000 at Donington for shaping your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and that did shape my career. It was like your foundations have set now. That's it. Now you can build. Now shows how fast you are, and that's what it enabled me to do. Because it was that last piece of inner belief that I thought I could beat you all. I think I'm ready to take you on. No, I now know I am.
What a perfect place to end it.
What a great place to end it.
Perfect place. End it on a high.
Enjoyed that,
Hodgie, this has been brilliant. Thank you, mate.
Who'd have thought me talking about myself will be an enjoyable experience.
Do you know how hard it is to run a podcast talking to motorcycle racers? Let's sit down and talk about you for a couple of hours. Yes, please.
They're lining up, aren't they, to do it? I know, thanks, Dave, honestly.
No, Hodgie, thank you so much. What an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, the brilliant Neil Hodgson.
A huge thank you to Neil for his time. Those 3 hours passed in a flash, and I hope they did for you as well. And I think we covered pretty much everything in that chat. We wish Neil all the very best for the upcoming MotoGP season with his commentary on TNT Sport. I'm sure it'll be another cracker of a season for him. Also, huge thank you to Lee and Carla at Slick Moto Events for sponsoring this episode. As we said at the top of the show, all the links are in the description below, or just head to slickmotoevents.co.uk. Next week, it's a return to Laceby Manor. We remove Roger Burnett from his office and we sit down with senior TT winner, British Supersport champion, team manager at Taz Racing and ambassador for BMW. It's the brilliant Steve Plater. I can't wait to bring you that one. So until then, thank you so very much for watching and please do look after yourself. Bye-bye.